Chapter 630. Seeing them charge over, Zhao Fu gave a cold smile and ordered his soldiers to continue retreating while all of the city lords stayed behind. The eastern side city lords did not understand what Zhao Fu was thinking, and they could not understand why the city lords did not run away and instead chose to stop while the army quickly ran away. However, Zhao Fu raised a hand, and the Disaster King ring on his finger gave off a soul-devouring black light, causing the clouds to become chaotic. Boom! The 10 disaster cavalrymen raised their black swords and roared as 10 black pillars of light shot into the sky, causing the entire sky to tremble. Massive amounts of deathly aura gathered to form black clouds, and a massive black magic formation appeared, giving off boundless deathly intent. Boom! Boom! 2 massive explosions sounded out as large amounts of undead aura exploded out from the 2 sides. The deathly aura was like a tidal wave as it swept towards the eastern side's army. The eastern side's city lords' expressions fell as they realized Zhao Fu's goal, and they immediately yelled, "Hurry! Get into formation!" The city lord soldiers sensed that something was off, and they stopped charging and quickly gathered together, forming a defensive formation. Roar! The countless undead excitedly roared and flooded towards the system main city army from the left and right. From above, it looked like 2 black tides ferociously rushing towards the system main city army. After clearing out the 4 regions, Zhao Fu had obtained many corpses. There were humans, outlanders, and beasts, and Zhao Fu had collected all of these corpses for this day. He would use the undead army to whittle down the other side's forces. This time, there were 6 million skeletons in total, and they rushed towards Qin from 2 sides. These skeletons were stronger than normal skeletons, but they did not have stage 1 strength. If there were only a few of them, they would have been easily dealt with by the system main city soldiers. However, the undead always relied on numbers to win. The 2 tides of undead gave off ferocious auras as they slammed into the massive army formation. The shield bearers on the outer layer exploded out with all of their strength and held up their shields. The archers and infantrymen ferociously attacked, and all sorts of lights shot out, temporarily stopping the undead army's charge. However, when he thought about it, the undead army of 6 million against the system army of 3 million was only twice the number of undead, but the difference in power was several times greater. As such, the undead army was still stopped by the army formation. If there were many more undead and their attacks were more ferocious, they might be able to break through the army formation. Right now, the countless skeletons were being blocked by the shield bearers, while the infantrymen and archers were attacking. The infantrymen behind the shield bearers released saber lights, sword lights, and spear chi, easily destroying the skeletons' bodies. The archers shot out arrows that contained streams of air. If they were ordinary arrows, they would definitely be useless against the skeletons, and only by hitting their heads would they be able to kill them. However, this kind of arrow was not sharp. Instead, it was blunt. The airflow was as thick as a fist, and as long as it hit the skeleton, it would be like being hit by a hammer. The skeletons were not a match for the system army, and if there were no accidents, they would be wiped out by the system army. But will it always be like this? It was not very likely. However, there was still Qin's army. The skeletons here were not under Qin's control, and if Qin's soldiers got too close, they would also be attacked by the skeletons. However, Qin's army had already retreated a certain distance, ensuring their safety. Moreover, the 1.8 million soldiers that had been hiding also rushed out. Great Qin's 3.8 million soldiers and 28 city lords were ready to go. Fire! As Qin Feng gave the order, the countless archers drew their bows, and the sound of the air being torn could be heard as countless arrows tore through the sky and descended like raindrops. The army formation was focused on dealing with the skeletons, so how could it defend against such a large-scale arrow rain? The 21 city lords wanted to attack together, but Qin's city lords turned into rays of light that shot towards the eastern city lords, and a massive battle unfolded. However, many of the system army soldiers were unable to block the arrows and were struck by the arrows. Blood splattered everywhere, and some were killed by the arrows. Others were heavily injured and screamed in pain. The system army could only do their best to kill the skeletons. Only by killing all of the skeletons would they not be so passive. As their attacks became more and more ferocious, the number of skeletons greatly decreased. The system army's 300,000 or so cavalrymen used their advantage and speed to circle around the skeletons, and they gave off a ferocious aura as they shot towards Sheen like a sharp sword. Chapter 631. Ballista bolts brought with them massive gales as they flew towards the shield wall. Bang! 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 Muffled booms rang out as the ballista bolts landed on the shields. The immense force of the bolts caused the soldiers behind the shields to be pushed back a few steps. Even though they were completely unharmed, their shield wall was broken and unable to form a shield. The countless skeletons did not fear death and were only filled with the excitement of killing, and they quickly surged towards these gaps. Just as the shield wall was about to collapse, the soldiers quickly killed the skeletons that had charged in, and the shield bearers once again went up to support it. They gave off an earthen yellow aura, and their shields also gave off a yellow light. The rays of yellow light gathered together and fused together, forming an indestructible aura that was as steady as a mountain. It looked quite extraordinary. Zhao Fu's eyes slightly narrowed, and he once again ordered the stage 1 ballistae to aim at the shield bearers. The ballista bolts brought with them immense force as they arced through the air and descended like rain. The shield bearers roared, and the yellow light from the shield wall became even brighter. After entering the range of the yellow light, the countless ballista bolts became noticeably slower, and most of their power was blocked by the yellow light. Only a small portion of the ballista bolts' power slammed into the shields, causing tinkling sounds to ring out. However, none of the bolts were able to pierce through the shields, and they all fell to the ground. Use the talisman bolts. Zhao Fu gave the order, and the soldiers took out one. 5-meter-long bolts that were covered with lines. There was a white talisman stone at the center of the bolts, and there was a small crystal at the end of the bolts. After placing the talisman bolts onto the ballistae, the soldiers controlling the ballistae once again aimed at the shield wall. Fire! Zhao Fu gave the order, and countless talisman bolts shot out. Boom! 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 The talisman bolts turned into massive rays of light that gave off a sharp aura as they tore through the sky, leaving behind faint traces in the air. Bang! 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 As the massive rays of light descended, not only did they instantly pierce through the shields, but they also pierced through the shield bearers and the soldiers around them. Blood sprayed everywhere, and their bodies were cut into pieces. The arrows did not stop there, and they continued onwards, destroying everything in front of them. Roughly 10,000 talisman bolts tore open a gap that was tens of thousands of meters wide, and they left bloody gashes on the ground that were dozens of meters long, covered with blood and severed limbs. The countless skeletons sensed the aura of death and madly surged over. The shield bearers were so big that even the shield bearers could not fill them. The shield bearers were so big that they began to collapse. Seeing how powerful these talisman arrows were, Zhao Fu gave a satisfied smile. The talisman arrows were made from blue-grade materials, and adding on the white-grade talisman stones and energy stones, each talisman arrow was worth 10 or so gold coins. Because he lacked talisman stones, Zhao Fu had only made 10,000 of them. The talisman the shield bearers were, so that they a him. And a talisman them, a him, a attacks. The battle in the sky was incredibly intense, and terrifying shockwaves shook the surroundings, causing people's hearts to tremble. However, when the city lords saw the shield wall collapsing and the countless skeletons pouring in, their expressions became quite unsightly. At this time, they had already lost, so they did not fight to the death and ordered a retreat. However, it was not that easy for them to retreat. Not only was the castellan tightly entangled by Qin's people, but even the soldiers were entangled by the undead. These undead were extremely disgusted with life, but they stuck to the soldiers like plaster and would not let go unless they were killed. Boom! An Eastern faction's city lord died under the combined attacks of Qin and a few other city lords. Qin's side had 28 city lords, while the Eastern faction only had 21. Zhao Fu was in charge of the battle, or else the Eastern side would have to face 29 city lords. With Zhao Fu's strength, he could easily take on 3 city lords by himself. The death of the first city lord dealt a heavy blow to the Eastern side's faction. Their morale became even weaker, and they wanted to escape even more. None of them wanted to die, and as long as they had that mentality, their battle power would plummet. Boom! After killing the Eastern city lord, even more of Great Qin's people turned to attack the other city lords. Another city lord was careless and was pierced through the heart by Bai Qi's sword. With another city lord dead, the Eastern side's faction suffered another heavy blow, and their morale plummeted. The system main city soldiers obeyed the city lord's orders and started to retreat. However, they were tightly entangled by the undead and were unable to retreat at all. In the end, they had to endure the undead's attacks and countless arrows from Qin. In the end, they only had 1 million soldiers left, which was an incredibly bitter battle. However, most of the skeletons had been killed, and they were now about to face Qin head-on. Zhao Fu gave the order to attack, and the Stage 2 cavalrymen were like sharp swords as they charged into the system main city army. The 70,000 Stage 2 cavalrymen were invincible, and they were unable to resist at all. The Stage 2 cavalrymen they led were also incredibly ferocious and started to charge. Following this, the infantrymen flooded forwards and started to slaughter. By now, most of Qin's 3.8 million soldiers were at their peak, while the system main city army was more or less injured. Their morale was also plummeting, and after suffering such a ferocious attack, they were forced to retreat. Seeing this, the city lord in the sky gave up and did not hesitate to use all sorts of methods to escape. They had already lost this time, and if they continued to stay here, they would all die here. As for the soldiers, they did not care about them at all. In the end, the battle concluded. The ground was covered with corpses, and blood dyed the ground red. Weapons were scattered everywhere, and the stench of blood was quite pungent. First, it was the city lord's side. After the battle was settled, Zhao Fu rushed into the sky and joined the battle. Of the 21 city lords, 5 had used special methods to escape, 3 had been captured, and 5 had surrendered. In total, 8 city lords had died. As for the system main city soldiers, roughly 200,000 had escaped, and 380,000 had surrendered. Out of the 1 million soldiers, 6 million had died. On Qin's side, all of the skeletons had died, and 80,000 soldiers had died. There were also many people who were injured, but compared to the results of the battle, Zhao Fu could accept these numbers. The 80,000 soldiers had been incredibly important to Qin, and now they had all died in a single battle. Even though he could accept this, Zhao Fu felt a bit of pain in his heart. Next. Chapter 632. Qin's army quickly invaded a region and surrounded a system main city. This system main city lord had already died, and it wasn't those who had surrendered or those who had been captured. Otherwise, they would have been able to coerce them into surrendering. Right now, each system main city only had 400,000 people, and because most of the soldiers had died, they didn't have much battle power. Most of them were just commoners. This system main city had already been relocated, and its walls had been destroyed. Now, most of the residents were packing their things and preparing to escape. However, they had never thought that Qin's army would surround their system main city so quickly. Zhao Fu didn't waste any words and ordered those who were willing to surrender to come out, while those who were unwilling were to burn down the city. Zhao Fu didn't want to charge in and cause unnecessary casualties. Under the might of the army and the city lords, most people were quite rational and chose to surrender. There were roughly 280,000 people, and there were 100,000 or so people who refused to surrender and stubbornly resisted within the system main city. Zhao Fu ordered fire arrows to be fired, and the entire system main city was set ablaze. Flames devoured everything, and many people were burned to death. Some people wanted to rush out and fight to the death with Qin, but they were shot down by the archers, and corpses littered the ground. After quickly dealing with this system main city, Qin's army headed to the next system main city. This system main city lord had already surrendered, so they easily obtained 400,000 people. After obtaining so many people, Zhao Fu started to construct teleportation channels to send these people back to Qin City. Otherwise, it would be difficult to move around with hundreds of thousands of residents. Just like that, Qin continuously attacked system main city after system main city. Because of the lack of time, some system main cities' people had run away, but Qin's gains were still quite shocking. A few days later, Zhao Fu sat in the meeting hall and listened to Wang Jian's report. Qin had taken 5 million people, which was a quarter of Qin City's population. Zhao Fu had to be very careful to pacify them in order to prevent anything unexpected from happening. Apart from people, Qin had obtained countless EXP from relocating 16 system main cities, causing the great city to level up. Moreover, Zhao Fu had also obtained 6 region treasure chests. With how precious region treasure chests were, obtaining 6 at once caused Zhao Fu to smile. The other forces also learned that the Eastern Alliance had suffered a crushing defeat. Some of them were glad that they didn't choose to be enemies with Qin, but they also regretted a little. If they could really unite, they might be able to defeat Qin. But now that Qin's power was several times greater, the 3 forces had no chance. While Xinru was writing, Zhao Fu looked at the 4 women in front of him. They were naturally the 4 city lords that Qin had captured. One wore a red dress and had bright red lips. She had a pretty face and a graceful figure, and she gave off a bewitching aura. She was called Fu Ningqin. The second one was only 15 years old and looked very cute. It was unknown how she became the city lord, but her name was Gongliang Qinrua. The third was also very beautiful. She had a slim figure and fair skin. She was a typical beauty. Her name was Pang Xiling. The fourth was a mature woman with a mature figure and alluring looks. She was called Li Chun. Zhao Fu glanced at them and started to make them concubines. As city lords, they had a lot of Phoenix Chi, and the Emperor Phoenix's power was also quite great. Qi now had 16 more city lord seals. Zhao Fu did not take away the city lord seals from those who had surrendered, and he gave the remaining city lord seals to those who had performed well. Following this, there were 6 region treasure chests. These were all good items, and they were all incredibly valuable. Zhao Fu was quite excited. After opening the first region treasure chest, light shined out, and a talisman paper appeared in front of Zhao Fu. This talisman paper was blood red, and it was 2 fingers wide and 30 centimeters long. It was quite thin and long, and there were black lines and runes drawn on it. The talisman paper itself gave off a very strange aura. Corpse Transformation Sword. A very evil talisman paper that is incredibly difficult to create. It can turn a corpse into a sword, and the higher the grade of the corpse, the higher the grade of the sword. Zhao Fu felt that this talisman paper was quite effective, and he eagerly opened the second region treasure chest. After the light dissipated, a massive item appeared in front of Zhao Fu. It was another dragon-slaying ballista, and with its power, this second item was quite good. Following this, Zhao Fu opened the third region treasure chest, and a square piece of green jade appeared in front of Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu felt quite curious and looked at its stats. Bluestone Divine Art, S-grade type. Art description, a stone attribute art that gives 1 powerful defense after cultivating. It is one of the most powerful arts. Art. Zhao Fu was quite surprised. There was no shortage of arts in the Heaven Awakened world. Basic arts could be found on the streets, and they could be bought easily. Moreover, they could easily drop from killing creatures. If you had a profession change stone steel, you could carve a basic art into the profession change stone steel, allowing you to learn arts. As such, arts were quite cheap in the Heaven Awakened world. Of course, this was only limited to basic arts. In actuality, arts were split into different grades, just like soldiers. Basic arts were quite easy to obtain, but the higher grade arts were, the rarer they were. Moreover, they required items to carry items, and most people could only use items to learn arts. For example, the bluestone divine art that Zhao Fu had carried was this green jade. Only by using the green jade could Zhao Fu cultivate the bluestone divine art. Even if others knew about it, they would not be able to cultivate it. As for arts, Zhao Fu did not care much about them, as they were all quite low-grade. Even if there were some high-grade arts, only a single person could learn them. Zhao Fu did not care much about these arts, nor did he plan to cultivate the bluestone divine art. This was because Zhao Fu had a legacy art, the Qin Heart Sutra. There were a few benefits to cultivating legacy arts. The first was that it could level up as the city grew. The second was that it could receive stat buffs, such as cultivation speed and recovery speed. And the third was that its aura could fuse more with Qin, making it more compatible with Qin's legacy items. The Qin Heart Sutra was split into a few grades, and it would change according to one's position. For ordinary soldiers, the Qin Heart Sutra was a D grade art. However, if he became a captain, his art would become the Qin Military Cultivation, which was a C grade art. If he became a general, his art would become the Qin Martial Cultivation, which was B grade art. If he became a general, his art would become the Qin General Heart, which was a grade art. As the ruler of Qin and the future emperor of Qin, Zhao Fu cultivated the Qin King art, which was S grade art. Chapter 633. Zhao Fu was currently cultivating the Qin Emperor art, which was an S grade art and had many effects. As such, he was not interested in the Azure Stone Divine art, so he would not cultivate it. Moreover, if a person cultivated two arts, their power would become chaotic, and it would be easy for them to go berserk. If the art he obtained did not give him extraordinary abilities, Zhao Fu would not cultivate any other art, and would only cultivate the Qin Emperor art. Just as Zhao Fu was about to put the matter of the art aside, the golden dragon suddenly said in Zhao Fu's mind, "Zhao Fu, I have a celestial art. I have an immortal cultivation technique. Do you want to cultivate it?" Hearing this, Zhao Fu felt quite surprised. Because he had the demon god's information, Zhao Fu knew some things. There were records of celestials in the Heaven Awakened world, and all of them had the power to destroy the heavens and destroy the earth. They were not within the 6 paths or 5 elements and far surpassed godly spirits. Their power was incredibly terrifying, and it was said that above the 9 great realms was the celestial realm. There did not seem to be any celestials in the Heaven Awakened world, and from the demon god's information, Zhao Fu had never heard of any celestials. Celestials were just legends in the Heaven Awakened world. Suddenly hearing the golden dragon mention a celestial art, Zhao Fu's heart thumped, and he asked in surprise, "Really? The Heaven Murder Empire has a celestial art?" The golden dragon proudly smiled as she said, "Of course. A celestial art is incredibly precious, and even some ordinary holy empires do not have one. Back then, the Heaven Murder Empire's most talented emperor, Emperor Wu Shi, entered the 6 Desires Heaven's palace and obtained her legacy, allowing him to obtain a celestial art." After hearing this, Zhao Fu felt incredibly shocked. He had never thought that she would really have a celestial art. As for Emperor Wu Shi and the 6 Desires Heaven's palace, Zhao Fu did not know much about them, but he knew that they were definitely the most powerful people and things in the world. If there really was a celestial art, Zhao Fu felt quite tempted. He could imagine how powerful this art would be. So Zhao Fu said to the golden dragon, "I want to cultivate it." The golden dragon said seriously, "This art is called the 6 Desires Celestial Art, and it's extremely powerful. It leans towards a demonic path, and it requires at least heaven-grade talent. There are 2 ways to cultivate it. The first was abstinence. From now on, you are not allowed to touch a woman. Only when you had mastered the technique would you have the slightest chance of touching a woman. Note that this was only a slightest chance, because it would be more dangerous. You can use it as a dual cultivation technique. You can cultivate with countless women, and women with Phoenix Chi are the most suitable for you. You will have an advantage because not only will your cultivation increase, but it will also be very effective on those women. Both cultivation methods have their benefits. The first one gives you the purest energy, while the second one gives you the fastest cultivation speed. Which one do you want to choose? Zhao Fu felt quite troubled. If he chose to abstain, he would have to wait until he had completed the celestial art before he could touch a woman. With how difficult this celestial art was, it would be very difficult to cultivate it to completion. This meant that he might not be able to touch a woman for the rest of his life. This made Zhao Fu feel quite troubled, as this was not what Zhao Fu wanted. Zhao Fu was quite interested in that aspect. However, if he chose the second option, he would be a bit like a stud horse. He would have to cultivate with countless women, and Zhao Fu felt quite reluctant because he felt that it would be too promiscuous. Right now, Zhao Fu's feelings were still sealed off. Even though he had been intimate with some women, Zhao Fu knew that he had never liked a woman before. Of course, Zhao Fu wasn't interested in men, and Zhao Fu was certain that he liked women. The two options that the Golden Dragon had given him were both quite extreme, and Zhao Fu felt quite troubled. After thinking about it for a while, he felt like his head was about to explode. Moreover, the power of celestial art was simply too enticing, and he couldn't give up on it. However, facing two extreme choices, Zhao Fu didn't know what to do, so he put it aside for now and gave the Golden Dragon some time to think about it. Back at the Regent treasure box, Zhao Fu once again opened it. Countless rays of light shot out, and a city creation heart appeared before him. This city creation heart was quite extraordinary, and it gave off a powerful aura. Unnamed city creation stone. A basic city creation stone that has not been used by anyone before. It needs to be named and condensed into a city lord seal. Zhao Fu couldn't help but laugh out loud. He had actually opened up a small city. Back then, when Qin conquered a small orc city, he had spent a long time planning before he finally obtained the small city. However, he hadn't expected to obtain a small city so easily. This was definitely a jackpot. This city was perfect for Tuoba Qing to use. Because it was a city that she had never used before, Tuoba Qing could use it to spawn races related to her bloodline. The spawned people could then be given to villages, and that way, 100,000 people would be easily gathered. If he had a basic city's fate as the foundation for the desolate blood mask, it would be more likely for him to repair the desolate blood mask. When that time came, Qin would have another nation armament. Zhao Fu quickly called Tuoba Qing to the meeting hall. Tuoba Qing's face became slightly red as she asked softly, "Your Majesty, I'm afraid that you'll be fine." "Why are you looking for me?" Seeing how shy she looked, Zhao Fu smiled. Ever since he had made her a concubine, Tuoba Qing had never seen Zhao Fu before. She would always blush, and she looked quite cute. "This is for you. Go and condense a city lord seal." Zhao Fu smiled as he handed the city creation stone to her. Tuoba Qing was quite shocked. She had never thought that Zhao Fu would give her a city. However, after thinking about it, she realized that Zhao Fu definitely had some use for it. However, it was still a city, and for him to give it to her like this meant that she still had a place in Zhao Fu's heart. Tuoba Qing's face was quite red as she went up and received the city creation stone. She respectfully bowed to Zhao Fu and said, "Thank you, Your Majesty." Zhao Fu nodded, and seeing how respectful she looked, he said, "I'll now make you a concubine, so you don't need to be so reserved." Tuoba Qing happily nodded and left the reward city to condense her city lord seal. Zhao Fu once again looked at the Regent treasure boxes. Now, there were only 2 left, and he wondered what he would be able to obtain next. Zhao Fu once again opened a Regent treasure chest, and a searing heat wave came out from the Regent treasure chest as a flaming stone appeared in front of Zhao Fu. Flame Spirit Stone, a top-quality epic-grade material that can be used to forge epic-grade weapons. It has powerful fire attribute energy. After looking at the stone's description, Zhao Fu found that it was an epic-grade material, and he felt quite disappointed. Boom! Chapter 634. A blood-red pillar of light shot into the sky, causing the deep blue sky to become blood-red. It looked as if it was dripping blood. A vast, ancient, and bloody aura covered the entire heavens and earth, causing the world to fall silent. That boundless might cause countless people's bodies to sink and Zhao Fu's expression fell because he could sense how terrifying this might was. He could not use his own might to defend against it. The entire world started to change as countless traces of heaven and earth essence chi gathered. Wild gales howled, and blood-red clouds continuously roiled as they gathered towards the blood-red pillar of light. As the heaven and earth essence chi and blood-red chi gathered, the ancient might in the sky became even more powerful, and it seemed to be corporeal as it weighed down on everyone's bodies. What's going on? It wasn't just Qin who felt confused. Zhao Fu did not know what was going on either, but seeing that the blood-red pillar of light was quite close to Qin City, he suddenly remembered that he had asked Tuoba Qing to condense a City Lord seal. Did this have something to do with her? Zhao Fu quickly headed there, and Qin and the others also headed there to see what was going on. When Zhao Fu arrived, he saw Tuoba Qing within the blood-red pillar of light, as well as Wu Qian, who was lying on the ground in terror. Countless cracks had appeared on the ground around them, and this place had become the center of the storm. Wild gales blew out, destroying countless trees and causing rocks to fly into the sky. So this is related to her, but the ripples are too powerful. Zhao Fu thought to himself. Following this, Zhao Fu went up and carried Wu Qian out of the storm and asked, "What happened?" Wu Qian calmed herself down, but she still said in fear, "I don't know either." When Big Sis was condensing a City Lord seal, her body suddenly exploded out with blood-red light, and this happened. "Your Majesty, will Big Sis be all right?" Feeling her trembling body and worry, Zhao Fu comforted her, saying, "She should be fine. Don't worry, I'm here." Wu Qian's eyes were filled with tears as she looked up at Zhao Fu and nodded. Feeling Zhao Fu's warmth, her face became slightly red. "Your Majesty, what happened?" The other generals also rushed over and said in shock when they saw the scene before them. Zhao Fu looked at the essence qi continuously gathering in the blood-red clouds, as well as the increasingly terrifying might, and his expression became serious as he replied, "It might be because of Tuoba Qing's bloodline." Now, Zhao Fu knew some things about Tuoba Qing. He knew that she was from the royal clan and had a royal bloodline, but Zhao Fu didn't know what kind of royal bloodline it was. Swish, swish, swish. 3 rays of blood-red light, giving off terrifying ripples, shot over from the side. Zhao Fu's pupils constricted as he found that they were the 3 shards of the desolate blood mask. They flew uncontrollably towards Tuoba Qing and entered the blood-red pillar of light, sticking to Tuoba Qing's beautiful face. These 3 pieces formed an incomplete mask. Only the left side of the mask was missing a piece, but it gave off a mysterious, ancient, and terrifying aura. With the mask on Tuoba Qing's body, Tuoba Qing's aura was incredibly terrifying, and anyone who saw it would shiver. "Zhao Fu, I know her bloodline. She's from the absolute beginning human race." The Golden Dragon's voice was incredibly serious. Absolute beginning human race. Hearing its words, Zhao Fu didn't quite understand, and he didn't know what the absolute beginning human race was. Hearing Zhao Fu's confusion, the Golden Dragon explained, "It's the first batch of humans that appeared at the beginning of the world." Zhao Fu looked quite shocked as he said, "The human race at the beginning of the world? Isn't that a race that's even older than your Heaven Murder Empire?" The Golden Dragon nodded seriously as it said, "Her identity might not be simple, and there might be some higher beings interfering in your world. In actuality, many people like to use certain methods to transfer their legacies and power to new worlds, using the advantages of the Heaven-Awakened world's boundary regions to avoid enemies and trouble." Zhao Fu's expression became quite serious, and he could tell that the Golden Dragon was quite wary of Tuoba Qing's identity. However, with the Heaven Murder Empire's foundation and power, this was the first time the Golden Dragon had shown such an emotion. Is her identity really that terrifying? Even you're so wary of her? Zhao Fu asked in disbelief. The Golden Dragon nodded and said, During the Heaven Murder Empire's ancient times, the absolute beginning race was rarely seen. They were born with an origin bloodline, and their power far surpasses anything you can imagine. Even at its peak, the Heaven Murder Empire wouldn't be willing to become enemies with the absolute beginning race. You can easily imagine how powerful they were. They've existed since the beginning of the world, and it's said that they know the secrets of the Heaven Awakened world's birth. For low-grade civilizations like you, no matter what kind of low-grade creature you are, evolving into a human form depends on the human race's bloodline. The absolute beginning race is the most fundamental reason, and there are some things that even the Heaven Murder Empire doesn't know about. Apart from the absolute beginning human race, there's also the absolute beginning God race, the absolute beginning devil race, and the absolute beginning death race. However, I won't be able to see them in the future, as I've only seen them a few times. Massive waves crashed within Zhao Fu's heart. He had never thought that Tuoba Qing, whom he had been neglecting, would have such a terrifying identity. He gulped and asked, "What's the situation now?" The golden dragon looked at Tuoba Qing and said, "Her bloodline has been stimulated by condensing a city lord seal, and with the help of the desolate blood mask, her bloodline is about to slightly awaken." Blood. After hearing the golden dragon's words, just as Zhao Fu was about to reply, a clear voice sounded out. Zhao Fu immediately felt his soul tremble, and his hair stood on end as a wave of terror flowed out from his heart. Boom! The heavens and earth seemed to explode as a massive shock wave spread out, bringing with it an aura of annihilation. As it swept out, countless blood-red clouds and berserk gales were instantly obliterated. As the shock wave spread out, the ground, trees, and boulders were all obliterated. Qin and the other city lords were given a big fright, and they unleashed their city lord seals to defend, but they were still sent flying by the massive shockwave. Zhao Fu's eyes widened, and he hugged Wu Qian with one hand while unleashing his king's domain with the other. A black barrier with dragon inscriptions appeared, covering Zhao Fu and Wu Qian. Bang! The shockwave still swept out, and Zhao Fu felt a massive force hit him. His body flew back hundreds of meters and heavily crashed into a mountain, causing countless cracks to appear on the mountain. As the shock wave swept out, the ground continuously trembled, and birds flew away in fear. Countless beasts ran in all directions, and a white light flashed behind Zhao Fu, destroying everything in an instant. After a while, only then did the terrifying shock wave stop, and a crater that was tens of thousands of meters wide and 1,000 meters deep appeared in the ground. At the center, a figure seemed to wake up from a dream, and he looked around in shock. Chapter 635. By now, Tuoba Qing had gone through great changes. Her jet-black hair had become blood-red, and it reached her hips. Her eyes had become a pure, blood-red color, and her beautiful face had become incredibly beautiful. Her temperament had also changed greatly. Not only did she reveal the temperament of a big sister next door, but she also had a hint of devilishness and a trace of heroic spirit. She was very charming. Ow! Massive amounts of phoenix chi flowed out of Tuoba Qing's body and into the Emperor Phoenix statue, causing it to once again go through massive changes. It spread its wings, causing tens of thousands of rays of golden light to shoot out. The Emperor Phoenix became a golden sun that shined in all directions. The Emperor Phoenix's body was originally 40 meters long, and it grew to 120 meters long before it stopped growing. The ripples it gave off were even more powerful and shocking. Tuoba Qing looked incredibly shocked as she looked at the terrifying scene she had created. Not only had Qin been affected, but the surrounding villages had also been heavily damaged. She saw Zhao Fu below and immediately flew down, feeling incredibly apologetic and guilty as she knelt and said, "Please punish me, Your Majesty." Zhao Fu climbed up from the rubble with a trace of blood on his lips. Looking at the kneeling Tuoba Qing and the terrifying scene around him, he bitterly smiled and said, "Get up. It's not your fault." Tuoba Qing hesitated before getting up, and Wu Qian came over to Zhao Fu's side and asked caringly, "Big sis, are you all right? Are you okay?" Facing her concern, Tuoba Qing lightly smiled and shook her head, indicating that she was fine. At this time, The other generals also came to Zhao Fu's side with some injuries. Seeing that everyone was fine, they all heaved a sigh of relief. Tuoba Qing's expression once again became worried. Because of her, not only had Qin City's city lords been injured, but even His Majesty had been injured. Zhao Fu looked at Tuoba Qing, and thinking about her terrifying identity, his expression became serious as he said, "Tuoba Qing, come with me." Tuoba Qing nodded and lowered her head, feeling quite nervous. She did not know how Zhao Fu would punish her, but no matter what punishment it was, Tuoba Qing was prepared to accept it. After all, she had made a mistake and deserved to be punished. She followed behind Zhao Fu and arrived at Zhao Fu's room. Zhao Fu thought for a moment before telling her her identity. Even without Zhao Fu telling her, she would understand one day. This matter was quite important, and Tuoba Qing had the right to know her identity so that she could make preparations in the future. After hearing Zhao Fu's words, Tuoba Qing looked quite shocked. She had already been quite shocked when she found out that she had a royal bloodline, and she had never thought that she would be someone from the emperor. "Your Majesty, will I cause trouble for you? You won't chase me away, right?" Seeing this, Zhao Qing said, "Now, Chun Qing, Zhao I will. Qing, and 1 and 1, and 1 and of Qing, and Emperor, and Tuoba Qing felt incredibly moved, and she leapt into Zhao Fu's embrace and tightly hugged him. Her face was completely red as she leaned against Zhao Fu's chest and said, "Your Majesty, I'm very happy. I like you the most." Zhao Fu laughed and hugged her gently. "Husband." Tuoba Qing's heart quickly beat as she made a decision. She raised her head, her face completely red as she shyly called out. She stood on her tiptoes and lightly kissed Zhao Fu, her tongue sticking into Zhao Fu's mouth. Immediately, Zhao Fu felt as though his head was about to explode. He felt as though his consciousness was being drowned by countless strands of phoenix qi. At this moment, Zhao Fu felt as though he had lost his mind. Switching from defense to offense, Zhao Fu kissed Tuoba Qing forcefully, and his actions became more intense. Tuoba Qing responded shyly, and Zhao Fu started to take off her clothes piece by piece. A series of crashing sounds rang out for 4 hours before stopping. In actuality, a sovereign bloodline gave a great boost in that area, and it was not as if Zhao Fu could not do it. Before, when he had obtained a royal bloodline, Zhao Fu had felt that certain areas had become much more powerful, and he had not dared to open the doors of desire in fear of losing control. Now that he had a sovereign bloodline, those areas had become dozens of times more powerful. If it wasn't for Tuoba Qing's special bloodline and the Emperor Phoenix statue's Phoenix Qi, it would have been very difficult for her to endure, and her outcome would have been quite pitiful. However, Tuoba Qing was powerless as she lay on Zhao Fu's body, panting. Only after a while did she recover a trace of strength. She raised her little fists and lightly hit Zhao Fu, saying, "You scoundrel! It was my first time, and you didn't even take pity on me." Zhao Fu smiled apologetically as he said, "I'm sorry. At that time, I really couldn't control my body." Tuoba Qing lightly nodded. In actuality, she was not angry, and she instead felt quite sweet as she lay on Zhao Fu's chest. Zhao Fu stroked Tuoba Qing's jade back and said in a promising tone, "Lil Qing, you're my first woman. I'll definitely take good care of you in the future." Tuoba Qing felt quite moved, and she raised her head and looked at Zhao Fu lovingly as she said, "Husband, I'll be yours forever. I'll be yours for the rest of my life." Zhao Fu smiled and hugged her. Before he knew it, it was already night time. Time passed quite quickly, and there were now 6 black orbs of qi within Zhao Fu's dantian. Zhao Fu had started to cultivate the 6 desires celestial art. Back then, Zhao Fu had been in a frenzy, and countless black scriptures had flowed into his mind. Perhaps it was because he had heaven grade, but Zhao Fu had instantly learned it. The core of the 6 desires celestial art was desire, which was the 7 emotions and 6 desires. After cultivating it to the great completion stage, one could even open up an illusion world. As soon as he started cultivating it, Zhao Fu could feel how powerful this art was, and his cultivation power had become many times purer. Bang, bang. It was already nighttime, and Zhao Fu wanted to call people to prepare dinner because Tuoba Ching was unable to get out of bed. However, at that moment, someone knocked on the door, and Nu Lu walked in with food. Seeing Nu Lu walk in, Tuoba Ching's face became bright red, and she buried her head into the blanket, feeling quite embarrassed. Nu Lu glared at Zhao Fu and said, "Husband, you're really something. You've ravaged little sister Lil Qing for so long, and yet you don't know how to take pity on her." Now, Zhao Fu felt quite awkward because he and Tuoba Ching were both lying naked on the bed. Even though they were both covered by blankets, Nu Lu had walked in like this. However, Zhao Fu did not feel any dissatisfaction from Nu Lu, and her face instead became slightly red. Following this, Zhao Fu got up and put on his clothes. "Little sister Lil Qing, I made some chicken soup for you to nourish yourself." Nu Lu ignored Zhao Fu and carried a bowl of chicken soup as she sat down next to Tuoba Ching. Tuoba Ching hurriedly got up and put on some clothes as she said embarrassedly, "Big sister Nu Lu, I'll do it myself." Seeing that Tuoba Ching had recovered so quickly, Nu Lu felt quite surprised, and she smiled as she handed the bowl to her. Zhao Fu sat at the table and started to eat while the two women chatted. Tuoba Ching became a shy little sister, and Nu Lu became a gentle big sister who knew everything. Chapter 636. After the light disappeared, a medicinal pill appeared in front of Zhao Fu. This medicinal pill was as big as a longan fruit and was pink, and it gave off an enchanting fragrance. Zhao Fu smelled a trace of it and felt that something was off, so he looked at its description. Cough, cough. Zhao Fu almost choked on his own saliva. How had he opened this medicinal pill? Zhao Fu had never thought that this was the 10th-ranked medicinal pill from the Disaster Festival. Hunter Dragon's Sun Pill, a special strengthening medicinal pill that countless men dream of. It is refined from all sorts of yang-type items, and after consuming it, one's body will receive a special strengthening. This strengthening is not temporary, but permanent. It is said that with this pill, one would not have to fear even 100 female dragons, which is why it is called the Hunter Dragon Sun Pill. Looking at the medicinal pill in his hand, Zhao Fu felt quite curious. Could he really not have to fear 100 female dragons after consuming this? After looking at the description, Zhao Fu felt quite doubtful that he would not have to fear 100 female dragons now that he had a sovereign bloodline. With curiosity in his heart, Zhao Fu consumed the medicinal pill and felt a ball of fire spread out, causing his body to become scalding hot. However, this was under Zhao Fu's control, and after a while, the heat disappeared. Zhao Fu felt the effects and did not know how to describe it. It was just a sovereign bloodline, which did not feel very powerful. However, because it was half of a sovereign bloodline, it was still quite powerful compared to others. After all, a sovereign bloodline was a bloodline that could only be produced by establishing a true empire. Even though the description of the medicinal pill did not say how powerful it was, after consuming it, Zhao Fu had a slight reaction. Looking at Nu Lu's petite figure and massive chest, Zhao Fu could not help but walk over. Sensing Zhao Fu's passionate gaze, Nu Lu's face became red, and she shyly stood up and lightly hugged Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu did not hold back and lowered his head to kiss her lips before taking off her clothes. The banging sounds continued until dawn. When the sun was at the center of the sky, blinding sunlight shone into the room, and Zhao Fu slowly opened his eyes. Looking at the sleeping beauties beside him, he did not disturb them and got up by himself. He had tormented them enough last night. After washing up, Zhao Fu found that everyone in Qin City was looking at him with ambiguous smiles. That smile seemed to have some other meaning, and Zhao Fu immediately understood what they were smiling about. However, he did not care too much about it. Zhao Fu called over his generals and discussed Great Qin's future plans with them. Now that the eastern side had been conquered, the only task left was to completely devour them. They could not be too greedy, as clearing out 6 regions would take a lot of Great Qin's time. Just clearing out 4 regions had already taken a few months, so it was best to digest everything first. Now, Great Qin's population had reached 26 million, and Zhao Fu had increased the number of soldiers to 5 million. Before, they had 8 million soldiers, which was an increase of 700,000. Now, their mission was to continue clearing out the 6 regions. Once they completely conquered these 6 regions, Qin City's forces would once again greatly increase, and they would be able to carry out their next mission. As Qin City entered the stage of clearing out regions, Zhao Fu's time became much more free. At that moment, Li Wen came to find Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu smiled when he saw that Li Wen had come. Li Wen had been responsible for exploring the passageway this entire time, and he normally would not come to find Zhao Fu unless there was something important. There were 2 kinds of things. One was that Zhao Fu had gathered all 100 soldier souls, and the other was that something big had happened. Seeing the smile on Li Wen's face, Zhao Fu understood that they had collected another 100 soldier souls, and Great Qin would have another general armament. This general armament should have belonged to Zhang Han, but he did not have a general star, and he was still lacking a few historical generals' corpses. As such, he could only give this general armament to someone else. During the New Year's festival, Zhao Fu had obtained 5 generals. Those people all had general stars and general fate, so Zhao Fu did not need to fuse with them. This time, Zhao Fu planned to give this general armament to Li Mu. Compared to the other 4, Li Mu had submitted to Qin City earlier and served Qin City earlier. He had also fused with Qin City the fastest, so he deserved this general armament. These orbs of light are filled with the aura of the Heaven Murder Empire. The Golden Dragon's voice sounded out in Zhao Fu's mind. Zhao Fu felt quite startled. These soldier souls had been obtained from killing the skeletons in the passageway. Zhao Fu now knew who those skeletons were. No wonder they were so powerful. They were soldiers of the Heaven Murder Empire. Zhao Fu did not hide this, as he could not hide it anymore. As such, he told the Golden Dragon about it. They died a worthy death. The Golden Dragon replied, and did not say anything else. Zhao Fu felt quite surprised, and had thought that the Golden Dragon would stop him. After all, Zhao Fu was killing people from the Heaven Murder Empire, or rather, skeletons. He had never thought that the Golden Dragon would accept this so easily. However, since the Golden Dragon did not care, Zhao Fu did not say anything else. In the distance, Zhao Fu fused the 100 soldier souls into 10 divine soldier souls and gave them to Li Mu. Li Mu respectfully received the divine soldier souls. He had never thought that Zhao Fu would give such an important thing to him. This showed that Zhao Fu trusted him, and Li Mu became even more loyal to Zhao Fu. After receiving the divine soldier souls, Li Mu went to the center of the empty area. The 10 divine soldier souls gave off a faint white light and flew into the sky, forming a circle. Following this, the soldiers within the orbs turned into traces of violet qi and gave off a corporeal might. Boom! Suddenly, an explosion sounded out, causing the entire sky to tremble. The 10 massive orbs of light started to resonate with each other, and the traces of violet qi continuously swayed within them as a terrifying power exploded out. Instantly, the heavens and earth dimmed as dark clouds roiled and quickly gathered. A wild gale blew, causing countless trees to sway and sand and pebbles to fly into the air. It was as if a disaster had descended. Boom! A massive explosion sounded out in the sky, as if the sky was about to shatter. A violet star giving off brilliant starlight and an ocean-like aura slowly descended. Many people were not surprised by this, as this had happened many times before. However, everyone was quite interested and wondered what kind of general star would be awakened this time. Back at Qin, the massive violet star gave off a powerful aura of suppression as it slowly descended. Li Mu drew a legendary great sword and pointed at the sky as he roared, causing a massive aura to explode out as countless traces of violet blood-red aura flowed out of his body. Boom! A violet blood-red pillar of light shot into the sky, shooting into the violet star in the sky. The massive star trembled, and gradually became violet blood red before giving off large amounts of violet blood red light that illuminated the surroundings. Not only did it give off an ocean-like aura, but it also gave off an evil aura. This evil aura caused countless people to feel quite afraid. This was not the kind of fear that one would feel when facing death, but the kind that one would feel when facing a monster. Chapter 637. The unchastity star was called the killing star, an imprisoning star in ancient books. It contained a trace of the 7 murder stars' killing intent and a trace of the imprisoning star's ferocious aura. The imprisoning star represented imprisonment and punishment, and it was a type of inauspicious star. However, Lian Jinxing had both of these attributes, so she gave off an evil aura. This evil aura was that she could do whatever she wanted and was completely unrestrained. She could do whatever she wanted and did not care about what others thought of her, which was quite different to ordinary evil auras. After the unchastity star appeared, a purple and blood-red pillar of starlight descended on Li Mu's body, causing his aura to change, and the power he gave off became more and more powerful. Following this, the pillar of starlight became smaller and smaller, and it turned and carved the word unchastity on Li Mu's sword before disappearing. After the general armament had been fused, the unchastity star, which gave off an immense aura of suppression, slowly rose up and disappeared into the sky. Zhao Fu asked for the unchastity sword, which had become a purple and blood-red color, and gave off a ferocious aura. Zhao Fu looked at its stats curiously. Unchastity sword. Grade. Epic stats. Strength plus 26. Intelligence plus 25. Constitution plus 20. Agility plus 20. Description: a legendary grade sword that fused with the unchastity star's power to form a general armament, the unchastity sword. The stats were not bad, and there were 6 general armaments. Because the first 5 were the same, there was no need to look at them. Zhao Fu looked at the 6th one. Imprisoning soldier, a type of soldier that is extremely aggressive and proficient at capturing. It is suitable for special capturing missions and is extremely powerful. It can suppress all types of soldiers to a certain extent, and it can use the unchastity star's power. All of the general armament's 6 stats were quite good, and this was the same for the imprisoning soldier. It would be very useful on certain battlefields. After looking at the unchastity sword stats, Zhao Fu gave a satisfied smile and returned the unchastity sword to Li Mu. Following this, Zhao Fu heard that Qin's assassins had captured a few high-ranking Indian women. Now, the Maurya dynasty's nation armament had been refined by Qin and had become Qin's nation-stabilizing pillar. India's clan armament, the glass peacock, was one of the 4 clan armaments in the human world, and Zhao Fu had personally seen its power. Of course, he could not let it go, and after refining it, Qin's strength would rise to another level. He was mainly lacking women from India, so Zhao Fu's target was the women on the Indian beauty rankings. They were the same as China's ancient beauty rankings, and all of them had strong phoenix qi. If he captured them, he should be able to refine the glass peacock with phoenix qi. At this time, Qin had only caught a few assassins. Zhao Fu didn't care because the number was too small. The disappearance of the women on India's beauty rankings attracted a lot of attention. This world was a world where looks mattered, and as long as you were handsome and pretty, even if you didn't know anything, you would still be the center of attention. As the women on the beauty rankings, they naturally received a lot of attention, so their disappearance attracted a lot of attention. How did they disappear? Countless Indian people made guesses. Some said that they had married into rich families and no longer appeared in public, while others suspected that they had been kidnapped. Others said that they no longer played in the Heaven Awakened world, which was why they could no longer be seen. Some said that it was because their fans had given them too much pressure, so they had chosen to go into hiding. Some even said that they had committed suicide. Now that very few people had disappeared, the Indian people all made their guesses, but they did not know who had done it. Perhaps in the future, they would find out who had done it. If that happened, they would most likely explode with anger. Killing their people and taking over their territory was one thing, but fighting and stealing women like this was going too far. However, even if they knew that it was Qin, Zhao Fu would still continue to capture them. After all, it was necessary to refine the clan armament. Moreover, they had invaded China, so they had received retribution from Qin. As such, Zhao Fu did not hesitate to wantonly capture Indian women. As for capturing Chinese women like this, Zhao Fu had never thought about it. Firstly, he did not want to cause any trouble. And secondly, as people of the same clan, Zhao Fu would not harm them for no reason unless they offended Qin or Qin was forced to do so. Zhao Fu put the matter of capturing Indian women aside because it would take some time. Zhao Fu walked around Qin and looked around. After feeling that there was nothing to do, he returned to the real world. Zhao Fu felt that he had not used a computer in a long time. Ever since Zhao Fu had become the acting family leader of the Ying family, he did not need to obtain information from the Heaven Awakened World Forum, so Zhao Fu had not used a computer. Today, Zhao Fu could not help but come in to take a look. He wanted to know about some things that he had not noticed, and perhaps he had overlooked something. After seeing this information, he would be able to think about it and obtain some inspiration. Now that Qin and the other dynasty legatees were reconciling, China was in a state of peace, and the various factions were doing their best to develop. Great Xia, Great Shang, Great Zhou, and Great Han had unified their regions, and they were not slow either. They were furiously chasing after Qin, and seeing that the other dynasty legatees were working so hard, none of them dared to fall behind. The border region was still the same. It was a mess. It was either you fight me or I fight you. However, neither side poured in a large number of troops. They resisted the temptation of rewards, or perhaps the rewards were not enough. The aftermath of the previous invasion also gradually calmed down. China was relatively peaceful, but the human world was still in chaos because people were fighting each other. It was not just the Midland continent, but the other 4 continents as well. Zhao Fu was quite concerned about their information, as if Qin could not defend against them by himself, he might need help from others. This was a helpless decision. Qin could not defend against them by himself, so he had to work with others or be destroyed. Now that he knew about the situation outside the legacy land, Zhao Fu felt quite worried. Zhao Fu did not know when the next stage of the chaotic world would open. If it did, it would not be far from devouring the real world. When that time came, everyone in the real world would be able to freely come and go, and they could also freely kill. Apart from this information, Zhao Fu looked through some other interesting threads and gained some inspiration. After reading for a while, Zhao Fu closed the Heaven Awakened World Forum and looked at the penguin icon on his screen, feeling quite hesitant. Ever since Zhao Fu had obtained Qin's legacy, he had cut off all ties with his past. Whether it was his friends, classmates, or acquaintances, he did not keep in contact with them and focused on developing Qin. Now, Zhao Fu's mental state had changed, and after thinking about it, he logged into QQ. After such a long time, Zhao Fu wondered how those people were doing, and he felt quite complicated. Chapter 638. After logging into QQ, a string of notifications sounded out, and his profile picture continuously flashed. Zhao Fu was quite surprised that, with his lonesome personality, there would be people sending him messages. Zhao Fu opened the messages and found that there were quite a few of them. Nyogu bro, where did you go? Lin Xingyu, bastard. You owe me $5 and you're not going to pay me back? I trusted your character and lent you the money. Boss Don AI, I'm going to close my shop. With the Heaven Awakened world, all business is going to be bad. The first message was from Nyogu. He was the person who had worked with Zhao Fu before, but they had met in the Heaven Awakened world. Zhao Fu had pulled him into Heaven's Choice, and he was still under the protection of the Ying family. After Heaven's Choice had been destroyed, he had gone to another region to develop. Zhao Fu had never thought that the first message would be from him. It seemed that he really did treat him as a friend, and it seemed that his preferential treatment had not been in vain. The second message was from Lin Xingyu, who was also an employee who had worked with Zhao Fu. She looked quite delicate and pretty, but she was quite stingy. She had once forgotten to bring money, so she had borrowed $5, which she had hesitated about for a long time. The third message was from Boss Dong, who was the owner of the convenience store. She was called Dong Mimi, and she was quite cheerful and cheerful. She was a young married woman with a 1-year-old child, and she was quite nice to the employees. As for the closure of the shop, Zhao Fu could foresee it happening. After all, if everyone entered the heaven-awakened world, who would maintain production and transportation? The economic system would be on the verge of collapse. This was the result of the government and many large families working together to maintain the economy. Without them, the real world would have long since collapsed. Without production, there would be no consumption, and there would be a shortage of resources. Before the heaven-awakened world devoured the real world would have fallen into chaos. There was no need to worry about Nyogu. As for Lin Qingyu, she happened to be online, so Zhao Fu sent her a message, "Send me your bank account number." Lin Qingyu quickly replied, "You bastard, you've revived? Give me back my money, or you're dead." Zhao Fu couldn't help but laugh. Thinking back to the past, even though she was quite stingy, they had gotten along quite well. Zhao Fu once again sent a message, "Send me your bank account number." Puzzled, Lin Qingyu replied, "Why do you want my card number? Actually, that 5 yuan was my bad luck. I'll just treat it as a meat bun thrown at a dog. You don't have to return it. Where have you been for so long?" How could he say that? His mouth was vicious, but Zhao Fu wasn't angry. He smiled and replied, "I've been busy for a while. Give me your car number quickly." "Oh, I'll give it to you properly. My car number is..." Seeing that Zhao Fu was urging her, Lin Qingyu felt strange and sent her card number over. Not long after, Lin Qingyu received a message. There was an extra 500,000 in her card. Lin Qingyu was shocked. This was the first time she had seen so much money. Recalling that Zhao Fu wanted her bank account number, Lin Qingyu quickly sent a message. "How did you get so much money? Are they going to sell it? Giving me so much money. Don't tell me you want to keep me as your sugar daddy?" Zhao Fu lightly laughed and replied, "I have a lot of money right now, so I'll return it to you. Also, I don't have any feelings for you." Seeing this message, Lin Qingyu coldly harumphed and unhappily replied, "I don't have any feelings for you either. I'll help you save the money, but it'll be 1 yuan a day. I'm going to enter the heaven-awakened world." Looking at her message, Zhao Fu wanted to tell her that the money was for her and not to save it for him. With his current status, let alone 500,000, even 5 billion yuan was nothing. However, after saying this, she directly logged off, so Zhao Fu could only leave a message. Zhao Fu then looked at the third message. Thinking about how Dong Mimi had helped him in the past and treated him quite well, Zhao Fu thought about it and decided to repay her. He said, "If you need anything, you can find me. If it's not safe outside, I can protect you." After dealing with these 3 messages, Zhao Fu looked at the other messages. "Zheng Dong, what's wrong? Why did you drop out? What a pity." "Dong Sujin, Lil Fu, why did you drop out?" "Zhang Yu, ha ha ha. Lil Zhao, follow your big bro. And your big bro is the big bro now." "Zheng Yu Qin, Fu Fu, I miss you. Why didn't you tell me you dropped out? I couldn't even get through to you on the phone." The first message was Zheng Dong, who was Zhao Fu's class president at university. He was very warm-hearted and loved to help others, and Zhao Fu had a good impression of him. They had a good relationship, and he had helped him many times. Zhao Fu replied, "It's not a pity. Thank you for your concern, but I'm doing quite well now." The second message was Dong Sujin, who taught Zhao Fu's class. She looked quite dignified, and she was one of the beautiful teachers at university. Zhao Fu had helped her a bit in the past, and they had a good relationship. Zhao Fu replied, "I had something important to do, so I dropped out. Don't worry, I'm doing quite well." The third message was Zhang Yu, who was Zhao Fu's roommate in university. Zhang Yu was quite good, but he was a bit pompous and liked to show off. There were 4 people in the dorm, and Zhao Fu's relationship with the other 2 was quite ordinary. They didn't really contact Zhao Fu, and they didn't add each other's QQ. Zhao Fu didn't know what opportunity Zhang Yu had encountered, but from his words, he felt that he had either become the leader of a small faction or established a village. In response, Zhao Fu replied with an eye roll emoji. As for the fourth person, Zheng Yuqin, thinking of her, Zhao Fu's expression became quite complicated. Her words could be misunderstood, but she didn't have any romantic feelings for Zhao Fu. She was 35 years old and looked quite gentle. She had a voluptuous figure, and her skin was as white as snow. She was the owner of the school's snack shop, and she had divorced a long time ago. Because she couldn't have children, she never had any children. Back then, when she was helping to move things, Zhao Fu saw that she couldn't move them, so he helped. That was how the two of them got to know each other, and after interacting with each other, Zhao Fu treated her as an older friend. However, she had other feelings for Zhao Fu, and every time she looked at Zhao Fu lovingly, she treated Zhao Fu as her son. In actuality, Zhao Fu felt quite disgusted with this Zhao Fu. His mother had died when he was young, and if she had appeared, Zhao Fu would have been able to accept it. However, Zhao Fu was already 21 years old, and his personality had already formed. He had become quite cold towards these things and didn't need them anymore. Back then, after Zhao Fu found out about her feelings for him, he rarely contacted her. However, she would always take the initiative to look for Zhao Fu and show concern for Zhao Fu, and Zhao Fu couldn't bear to continue maintaining their relationship. However, after dropping out of school, Zhao Fu cut off all relations, so he didn't contact her. Chapter 639. After dealing with the 6 messages, there were no more messages. Zhao Fu's social network was still quite cold, and after dealing with these messages, Zhao Fu added 2 groups. One was a high school group. Because they had been classmates for 3 years, Zhao Fu had some feelings for them. In the future, they would all go their separate ways and might never see each other again. This made him feel quite sad, so Zhao Fu added them as well. The other was a university group that Zheng Dong had created, and he had added everyone in his class. Both groups were active, and there were probably people talking. Zhao Fu opened the first group, which was the high school group. How Kun, Big Brother Gao, you've become rich recently. When are you going to take care of your old classmates? Jean Lirong, Big Brother Gao was already quite extraordinary in school, and now he's even more extraordinary. He manages hundreds of people and earns $300,000 or so per month. I'm so envious. Li Kant, Big Brother Gao, when are you going to treat us to drinks? Gao Changfeng, haha, it's just a small faction in the Heaven Awakened world. It's not a big deal. Don't worry, I'll treat you guys to a big meal when I have time. After sending the messages, Gao Changfeng also sent out a $1,000 red packet, and those who had been lurking immediately jumped up to snatch the red packet. At that moment, someone called Li Ba said, Beauty Lu is here. I heard you're getting married. Is that true? My heart hurts to get married so early. Wang Zhanyong, that's right. Beauty Lu, are you really getting married? My heart hurts too. Back then, you were the crush of all the boys in our class. Zhu Hong, I also feel sad that such a beauty is going to belong to someone else. Lu Hanyin, you guys are really... I've already been married for 2 years. Why don't you guys feel sad? At that moment, Beauty Lu Shi also spoke. He's quite good, and we've been together for a year or so. I think we can get married. Now that she had admitted to it, the group went silent. It seemed that there were many people interested in Beauty Lu. Zhao Fu thought of Lu Shi's appearance. Her facial features were exquisite, her skin tender, and her figure slim. She was indeed an extremely beautiful woman, and she was the most beautiful person he had seen in high school. When he heard that she was getting married, he could not help but feel a slight ripple in his heart. However, after coming to the big city and seeing more people, Zhao Fu's standards had also become higher. Of course, Lu Shi was still an extremely beautiful woman, but she was no longer the most beautiful. Gao Changfeng that. Lu Shi, why don't you consider me? Actually, I used to have a crush on you. Now, with my conditions, I can definitely take care of you. As soon as this was said, the group went silent again. In the high school group, some people went to university, some started working, and some got married. In their eyes, Gao Changfeng was the best person in the world, and he was also very generous. As such, many people spoke well of him, and now that he had confessed to Lu Shi, the situation became quite awkward. Everyone started to feel nervous, not knowing how Lu Shi would respond. Lu Shi, I'm about to get married. Why are you saying this? Of course, I refused you. Everyone felt relieved, but they were not happy because Lu Shi was still going to marry someone else. Zhao Fu looked at their chat and felt that it had nothing to do with him. Zhao Fu did not want to say anything and was about to close the group. Wang Xiao. Who can lend me 400,000 yuan? I'll definitely return it in the future. Suddenly, this sentence caused the group to go silent again. Students needed to rely on their relationship, and at most, they would lend a few thousand yuan. However, to borrow so much at once, no one would lend it to them. Moreover, everyone knew that Wang Zhao's family was very poor, and it was almost impossible for him to return the loan. Therefore, the group immediately went silent, and no one said anything. Even Gao Changfeng, who had the best life, would not waste 400,000 yuan. Seeing that there was no reply, Wang Xiao felt a bit disappointed. However, he had already expected that no one would lend him so much money, and he was just holding on to a trace of hope. What do you want so much money for? This sentence suddenly appeared in the group, and Wang Xiao immediately felt a trace of hope. He immediately told everyone about his family situation and his father's serious illness. Wang Xiao was Zhao Fu's deskmate in high school. Zhao Fu's high school was relatively poor, and there were many students, so they always sat together. At that time, both of them had low self-esteem because of their financial situation, and they had similar feelings, so they could be considered friends. Everyone was a bit surprised. Ever since Zhao Fu had joined the group, he had not said a single word. Everyone had a deep impression of Zhao Fu. Although he was a bit of a loner, his grades were quite good, and it was said that he had been admitted to a top university. From Zhao Fu's words, everyone could tell that Zhao Fu wanted to help Wang Xiao. After reading what Wang Xiao said, Zhao Fu felt that it was most likely true. This was because Zhao Fu had known some things about his family back in high school. Give me your bank account number, and I'll transfer the money to you. Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. $400,000 was an amount that ordinary people could only earn in 10 years, and they had never thought that Zhao Fu would be willing to lend it to them so easily. Following this, Wang Xiao excitedly sent out his bank account number. Soon, he received $400,000, and he was so excited that he almost cried. Zhao Fu, thank you. You're our family's benefactor. I swear I'll return this money to you. Zhao Fu did not care about this kind of money. As his deskmate for 3 years, it was not a big deal for him to help out a little. As such, he replied, "There's no need to return it. Live a good life in the future." These words once again shocked everyone. $400,000 had been given away just like that. Zhao Fu was simply too rich. Wasn't he still in university? How could he have so much money? Could it be that everyone who entered a top university was different? Gao Changfeng was also quite shocked. He would not be able to give away $400,000 for nothing. Zhao Fu, what do you do now? Why are you so rich? Someone could not help but ask. Zhao Fu's reply was quite simple. It's nothing much, I just have some money. I still have things to do, so I'll be leaving now. At that moment, Zhao Fu did not continue the conversation to avoid trouble. If it wasn't for Wang Xiao, Zhao Fu would not have said anything. After Zhao Fu did not say anything, everyone started talk about Zhao Fu. Some people said that they wanted to borrow money from Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu did not look at the high school group chat, and he planned to look at the university group chat. At that moment, he received a message, and when he saw that it was from Lu Shi, he asked, "Are you still there?" Looking at the message, Zhao Fu felt quite surprised. He had never thought that Lu Shi would send him a message, and he replied, Lu Shi, Zhao Fu, you must be doing quite well right now, right? You become famous." With Zhao Fu's current status, not only was he famous, but he was also known by the whole world. However, Zhao Fu replied, "It's all right. What's the matter?" Chapter 640. Zhao Fu felt quite startled. She had always wanted to talk to him. Zhao Fu did not remember saying a single word to Lu Shi. Even though they were classmates, Zhao Fu had been quite introverted back then. However, Zhao Fu still replied. She started to talk about the past and smiled as she said, Zhao Fu, I remember the first time I met you. You were so stupid. You couldn't even speak clearly and would stammer on the podium. Zhao Fu felt quite awkward. In the first year of high school, the teacher had asked everyone to introduce themselves. Back then, Zhao Fu had been quite introverted, and he had been so nervous that he could not speak. However, it had been more than 5 years, and Zhao Fu did not remember much about it. He awkwardly replied, I didn't expect this. You still remember that you were quite introverted in the past, but you're much better now. Shi, really? Actually, I quite like your personality. Do you still remember the time when we did some cleaning? Zhao Fu felt even more awkward because Shi remembered his dark history, so he could only awkwardly reply. A while later, Shi mentioned 10 or so things about Zhao Fu's dark history, and Zhao Fu had even forgotten some of them. This made Zhao Fu speechless, and he could only reply, I didn't expect you to remember this. Shi, of course. I've been following you since the beginning. Zhao Fu felt that something was amiss, but he did not know what to say, and the atmosphere became quite awkward. Zhao Fu did not reply for a long time. After a while, Shi sent another message. Actually, I'm just following you, so don't think too much about it. I'm about to get married, and I just said what I wanted to say in high school. Now that I think about it, it's been so long, and I feel quite regretful. You're finally online today, so I wanted to say it. Seeing her words, Zhao Fu felt quite complicated, and he replied with a heavy heart. I wish you happiness. Shi didn't reply to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu took a deep breath and turned his attention to the university group. Zhang Hao said, It's getting more and more troublesome. Many of the shops on the street are closed. Only some large supermarkets are selling things, and the prices are very expensive. Lu Onping. Prices are constantly rising. Money is depreciating. Zhang Qiuyan. Yes. The cosmetics I bought before are all out of stock. The Heaven Awakened world makes money too quickly, and it's a 1-10 ratio. Everyone's going to the Heaven Awakened world to make money. Bai Hui, let's not talk about these things anymore. Who are we going to work for in the Heaven Awakened world? Do you know that our old squad leader is planning to create his own force? Zhang Hao exclaimed, No way. The class monitor has no money or power, so how can he build an organization? If we're talking about treatment in our school, the campus bell of the Martial Arts University offers the best treatment. The others are all average. Nowadays, those with a bit of money and power have already built their own organizations. It's hard to choose if there are too many. Zhao Fu had never thought that Wu Qingyang would also be recruiting people. She was the president of the student union and had quite a bit of prestige. Nansha University was a top university and had many talents, so most people would choose her faction. As for the class monitor's faction, Zhao Fu felt that it was possible. Even though he didn't have any money or power, he had a cohesive force, so he would definitely succeed. Yang Zhe, I broke up with Bai Yin. Suddenly, a message was sent, shocking everyone in the group. Everyone was in disbelief. Yang Zhe was the most handsome man in their class, and he came from a rich family. Bai Yin was also the most beautiful woman in their class, and she came from a good family as well. They had been a couple in their first year of university, and they had been kissing Nini all day, causing everyone to feel quite jealous. In everyone's eyes, they were a perfect match made in heaven. However, for two people who had such a good relationship, to suddenly break up was quite shocking. Lu Onping, boss. No way. Why did you break up so suddenly? What happened between you two? Yang Zhe, AI. She said that the world has changed, and our relationship has to end here. Then, she dropped out of school and didn't even return to school. I can't even get through to her on the phone. My heart hurts. Qian Xiao, don't be sad. Don't we have another prettiest girl in our class? She seems to be single now, so you can go after her. Yang Zhe, how could I possibly go after Xiaoxi? Her family is worth billions, and there are so many people chasing after her. There are so many people who are more handsome and richer than me. Zhang Qiuyan, handsome Yang, how about we become a couple? Wu Xia, I can do it too. Yang Zhe, I like you too. Sun Wenli, think about me too. As the most handsome man in the class, Yang Zhe was quite popular. Now that he had broken up, countless girls were infatuated with him, and they all wanted to be his girlfriend. This also made the guys around him feel quite jealous. Xiao Shi, what are you guys talking about? Suddenly, Xiao Shi's words appeared in the group, causing everyone to fall silent. No one expected her to be here, let alone speak. Yang Zhe, it's nothing. Xiao Shi, you rarely talk in the group. Xiao Shi, I just came out from the Heaven Awakened world and was bored eating, so I came here to have a look. I heard that the class president wants to create a faction, so I'm considering supporting him. As soon as Xiao Shi appeared, she gave off a powerful aura, making it so that most people didn't dare to say anything. In front of her, even Yang Zhe was a bit weaker. Yang Zhe, I also heard about it. It should be true. Zhengdong, I all know. Indeed, I'm thinking about this because I feel that the real world is becoming more and more strange. Whether it's countries, large families, or financial groups, they're all pouring all of their resources into the Heaven Awakened world. I want to create my own faction so that I can protect myself in the future. The class president, Zhengdong, suddenly appeared in the group and loudly laughed as he explained why he wanted to create a faction. Xiao Shi, class president, I can support you. If you need money, you can come to me. Seeing that even a millionaire like Xiao Shi was supporting the class president, the others also expressed their support. Zhao Fu, I also support you. If you need help, I can also help. At that moment, Zhao Fu couldn't help but say something. However, perhaps because there were too many people talking, Zhao Fu's words were drowned out, or perhaps no one cared about what Zhao Fu had said. No one paid any attention to Zhao Fu. Only after a while did the class president notice, and he said in delight, Zhao Fu, where the hell did you go? It's as if you disappeared from the face of the earth. I was worried for a long time. Only now did everyone notice Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu had dropped out of Nansha University on the first day that the Heaven Awakened world had appeared. Back then, many people didn't understand what Zhao Fu was thinking, but now they guessed that many people had dropped out of Nansha University and spent all of their time in the Heaven Awakened world, obtaining good benefits. Zhao Fu, there are some things that I need to do, but I'm done with them now. If you need help, I can provide some help. If not, I'll be going now. Looking at Zhao Fu's name, Xiao Shi suddenly remembered that Qin's legatee's representative was also called Zhao Fu. However, perhaps it was a coincidence. How could this Zhao Fu be that Zhao Fu? Their identities were worlds apart, so Xiao Shi didn't mind. She had never thought that Zhao Fu was that Zhao Fu. Chapter 641. Zhao Fu felt quite startled and didn't know what to say. Back in high school, he had some feelings for her, but after such a long time, those feelings had faded. Now that she was about to get married, he didn't want to disturb her anymore. I wish you happiness. Zhao Fu deeply breathed in and sent the message, feeling a bit depressed and heavy in his heart. You bastard, I never want to see you again. Lu Shi quickly replied. He could feel her anger. Zhao Fu felt a trace of pain in his heart. She was the first girl he had ever had feelings for. Was it really going to end like this? He thought back to his high school days. I'm sorry. I take back what I said before. I don't want you to get married so soon. Zhao Fu couldn't help but type out the apology. However, after sending that message, Lu Shi had already logged off, so she hadn't seen Zhao Fu's message. Zhao Fu felt quite disappointed and thought that she would see it the next time she logged into QQ. However, he also felt that he was going to lose something. This was the first time that Zhao Fu had felt so chaotic, and he regretted saying such a thing. Looking at her gray profile picture, Zhao Fu couldn't help but ask for Lu Shi's number in the group chat and nervously called her. Do. His phone continuously sounded out, but the call still didn't go through. Zhao Fu's heart sank to the bottom. Zhao Fu didn't give up and called again, but there was still no answer. He felt an indescribable pain in his heart, and it was the first time he had felt like this. Zhao Fu deeply breathed in and stopped thinking about these things. He went to the washroom and washed his face with cold water. After adjusting his emotions, he once again entered the heaven-awakened world. It was currently afternoon in the heaven-awakened world, and the sun was setting in the west. The golden sunlight dyed half of the sky golden. After arriving at the meeting hall, Zhao Fu looked around to see if there was anything he needed to deal with. However, he found that it was just a few reports on the cleanup area. After glancing through them, he put them down. Now, Qin's main task was to clean up the area. Although Qin had a lot of troops, it would still take some time to clean up the area. During this time, Zhao Fu had some free time. After thinking about it, Zhao Fu decided to do something that he hadn't done before. After making some preparations, Zhao Fu was about to set off. Nu Lu had long since woken up. When she heard that Zhao Fu had entered the heaven-awakened world, she carefully cooked some food and brought it to the meeting hall. Seeing Zhao Fu, Nu Lu's face became slightly red. Thinking about how Zhao Fu had done all sorts of things to her last night, she felt that those positions were simply too embarrassing. This was especially so since Tuoba Qing had been there and had seen Zhao Fu do it with her. However, Zhao Fu did it with Tuoba Qing again, and she also saw Tuoba Qing and Zhao Fu doing it, so she wasn't as embarrassed. Lord Husband, it's already dark. Where do you want to go? Nu Lu felt quite confused as she looked at Zhao Fu, who was preparing to leave. I plan to explore the inner regions of the gloomy jungle historical remnant. Zhao Fu lowered his head and looked through the items as he replied. Nu Lu nodded and felt a bit disappointed as she said, Lord Husband, how about you eat before leaving? Why don't you finish your meal first? These? No need, I'll be leaving now. After saying this, Zhao Fu directly left the meeting hall. Seeing Zhao Fu leave, Nu Lu looked quite sad. She felt that Zhao Fu was different today. He had never treated her like this before. However, Nu Lu could feel that Zhao Fu was not in a good mood, and she wondered what had happened. If Zhao Fu had not left tonight, Nu Lu would have done some shameless things to make Zhao Fu happy. At the same time, ever since she had done it with Zhao Fu, her body had become incredibly sensitive, and when she had looked at Zhao Fu, her lower body had reacted. Since when did I become so lewd? Nu Lu's face became bright red, and she could not help but think of the shameless scene from last night, causing her legs to feel weak. If only I could go with His Majesty. Perhaps I could do it right now. As one of Nuwa's legatees, Nu Lu definitely had great power. It was just that after coming to Qin City, she had not shown it and had always acted like a virtuous wife. I can't think about these things anymore. Nu Lu's face became bright red, and she felt that her lower body was about to explode. Big Sister Lu, is His Majesty not here? Tuoba Qing's face became slightly red as she asked Nu Lu. Seeing Tuoba Qing come over, Nu Lu smiled at her, causing Tuoba Qing's face to become bright red, and she lowered her head, not daring to look at Nu Lu. Zhao Fu quickly arrived at Gloomy Jungle. Even though it was already dark outside, the secret realm was different. The sky here was always gray and did not change. Back then, after Zhao Fu had killed the Goblin King and obtained the king's crown, he had not continued to explore because he had felt that it was too dangerous. As such, the soldiers had only stayed on the outskirts and killed some goblins and minotaurs, and they had not ventured into the inner regions. Now that so much time had passed, Zhao Fu's strength could not be compared to before. Zhao Fu had wanted to explore the depths of Gloomy Jungle for a long time, but he had not had the time. There were no longer any creatures on the outskirts of Gloomy Jungle, as they had all been cleared out by Qin City soldiers. Zhao Fu directly flew into Gloomy Jungle. The scene immediately became different. Gloomy Jungle was a world of ice and fire. Some places were covered in thick ice that gave off a bone-chilling aura, while other places were covered in blazing flames that gave off searing heat. The combination of the two looked quite strange. As soon as Zhao Fu entered, he discovered some creatures that were humanoid and 1 meter tall. Some of their bodies were made of ice and gave off white chilling aura, while others were made of flames that gave off intense heat. These were all ice spirits and fire spirits, and they were part of the spirit race. Because their bodies were made of energy, They were creatures that had been born from energy. Their strength was equivalent to stage 2 to 5, and they were quite strong. Taking on a minotaur by themselves would not be a problem. After all, they were magic professions and had ranged attacks, so they could easily defeat a minotaur by kiting. If Qin City soldiers had come here before, they would have suffered great losses. The ice spirits and fire spirits here were quite powerful, and their fireballs and ice shards were all strengthened and had great destructive power. Zhao Fu flew in from the sky, and his movements were quite large. Immediately, a sky full of fireballs and ice shards flew towards him, forcing Zhao Fu to return to the ground. The ice spirits and fire spirits here had some intelligence, and after Zhao Fu landed on the ground, they hid in the distance and continued to attack, not coming close at all. Zhao Fu unleashed his king's domain, and as the fireballs and ice shards slammed into it, they shattered, but the black dragon inscription barrier was not damaged at all. Chapter 642. Facing these ice spirits and fire spirits, it was quite troublesome for Zhao Fu to attack. After all, these ice spirits and fire spirits attack from afar, while Zhao Fu used his sword, which was a close-range attack. Zhao Fu did not want to chase after them and kill them one by one, as that would be too troublesome. As such, he could only use large-scale attacks to instantly kill them all. Just as Zhao Fu was about to take out the Sin Dragon sword, he heard her harumph and act as if she did not want to pay any attention to Zhao Fu. Last night, when Zhao Fu, Nu Lu, and Tuoba Qing had done it with her personality, she had been incredibly impatient and wanted to rush out of the sword mark to enjoy it. However, she had been sealed within the sword mark by Zhao Fu and could only watch, making her feel incredibly angry and wronged. Now that she sensed that Zhao Fu wanted to use her, Long Xiao immediately hid to the side and threw a tantrum, causing Zhao Fu to fail to take out the sword. Seeing her like this, Zhao Fu could not help but laugh, and his mood became better as he said, "Come out, and I'll give you a kiss." Long Xiao felt quite delighted, but she held back because this was the first time Zhao Fu had taken the initiative to kiss her. Long Xiao felt that there were conditions that could be negotiated, so she said, "I want to do it with you, or else I won't come out." These words caused the other sword spirits' faces to become red, and Zhao Fu could not help but laugh as he said, "I'll use another sword then." "Don't." Sensing that Zhao Fu wanted to take out another sword, Long Xiao cried out as a green sword light shot out from the sword mark. A sword appeared in Zhao Fu's hand, and a figure appeared and tightly hugged Zhao Fu. She vigorously kissed Zhao Fu, and her tongue quickly entered Zhao Fu's mouth. Zhao Fu lightly hugged Long Xiao and felt quite surprised by her passionate actions, so he also took the initiative. After a while, Long Xiao reluctantly left Zhao Fu's lips, but in the next second, she couldn't help but kiss Zhao Fu. She didn't know why, but Long Xiao felt that after Zhao Fu cultivated the 6 desires of mortal art, his body had become more attractive. It was dozens of times larger than before. "Aya!" Long Xiao covered her head and let go of Zhao Fu. Right now, Zhao Fu still had to kill the ice spirit and fire spirit, so it was enough to comfort Long Xiao. Seeing that she still wanted to come, Zhao Fu raised his hand and knocked her head. Long Xiao pouted, but happily returned to her sword. "Roar!" Zhao Fu raised his sword and a dragon's roar sounded out as countless traces of water vapor gathered, forming water swords in the sky. It was as if there were 10,000 swords hanging in the air, giving off an incredibly sharp aura. Swish, swish, swish. As Zhao Fu's sword descended, the water swords in the sky rapidly descended, slicing through the air. It was as if there was a rain of swords that could destroy anything. The ice-cold fire spirit that was 10,000 meters away was sliced into pieces by the countless falling water swords. It let out miserable cries before its body collapsed, turning into countless strands of cold air or flames. Ice crystals and fire crystals fell to the ground. In just one attack, Zhao Fu had killed roughly 3,000 ice spirits and fire spirits. Zhao Fu tied the Sin Dragon sword to his waist and walked over curiously. He picked up the ice crystals and fire crystals to have a look. Chilling ice crystal. A special crystal that contains a large amount of ice-type energy. It can be used in various domains and can be used as an attack item. Fire crystal. A special crystal that contains a large amount of fire-type energy. It can be used in various domains and can be used as an attack item. These two crystals were similar to normal crystals, but the only difference was that they had different types of energy and could be used as an attack item. What did this mean? Zhao Fu tested it and threw out an ice crystal. The ice crystal turned into an ice shard and shot out, instantly piercing through a 5-meter thick boulder. Following this, Zhao Fu tested the fire crystal. An orb of flames shot out, blasting open a 10-meter wide crater in the ground. With their power, they would be able to instantly kill a Stage 2 soldier. Zhao Fu was quite satisfied and picked up all of the crystals before continuing onwards. There were no more threats, and Zhao Fu continued onwards as he killed the ice spirits and fire spirits, obtaining many energy stones. However, because flying in the sky was too big of a target and attracted too many attacks, Zhao Fu could only walk, which was why he was quite slow. A few days later, Zhao Fu came to the depths of gloomy jungle and found that there was a palace made of crystal. There were many carvings of humans and flowers, and they looked quite exquisite. Over the past few days, Zhao Fu had killed countless ordinary ice spirits and fire spirits, as well as an ice spirit lord and a fire spirit lord. They were dozens of times more powerful than ordinary ice spirits and fire spirits. Their bodies were 3 meters tall, and they could casually unleash an ice storm or a rain of fire. They were incredibly destructive and affected a large area, and it took Zhao Fu some time to kill them. Zhao Fu also obtained 2 Lord Crystals, which were different from the crystals dropped by ordinary ice spirits and fire spirits. They were not single-use items and could be used multiple times. With these Lord Crystals, Zhao Fu could use 3 skills at will. For example, the Ice Spirit Lord's crystal could unleash an Ice Storm, Ice Shield, and Ice Shard, which were incredibly powerful items. After coming to the depths and seeing the Crystal Palace, Zhao Fu's expression became serious. Even though this place did not seem to be dangerous, as the core of this place, it was definitely not simple, and there was definitely something dangerous here. Zhao Fu cautiously walked forwards and found that there were 2 crystal coffins within the palace. There seemed to be 2 people lying within them, and seeing this, Zhao Fu became even more careful. Just as he was wondering if he should continue onwards, one of the crystal coffins gave off an icy aura, while the other gave off searing flames. 2 massive waves of aura, one cold and one hot, flooded out. The people within the crystal coffins had revived. Boom! An explosion sounded out as 2 rays of light shot into the sky and turned into 2 figures. These 2 figures were both women, and they were incredibly beautiful. Their skin was as white as jade, and they had long hair that reached their legs. Their figures were quite slim, and they wore very little. They only wore bikinis that covered their important parts. They also held metal staffs that were 2 meters long and had a picture of a moon at the top. They gave off a faint light and looked like a treasure. One of them had fiery red eyes, and she was called Binoche, while the other had icy eyes, and she was called Karash. The 2 of them stood in the air and gave off a massive aura that shook the surroundings. Their eyes were currently on Zhao Fu. Seeing them appear and sensing their power, Zhao Fu's expression became serious as he gripped the Sin Dragon Sword. Chapter 643. The Firebird brought with it a wave of heat, and Zhao Fu expressionlessly slashed out with his sword, slashing out a wave of water that split the Firebird in half, causing it to turn into flames and disappear. Bang! Suddenly, a 7 or 8 meter long ice shard shot out and appeared in front of Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu leapt back and flew into the air, causing the ice shard to pierce 4 or 5 meters into the ground. Roar! Zhao Fu swung his sword, causing countless traces of water vapor to gather into a dragon that gave off a massive dragon's roar and slammed towards the 2 women. The two women each stretched out a hand, and their palms shined with light as an icy and fiery energy barrier appeared. As the water dragon slammed into the barrier, a muffled explosion sounded out and the water dragon dissipated. Binoche coldly harumphed and raised her staff, causing 100 or so fireballs to appear in the sky. They were all as big as watermelons, and there were 100 or so of them, giving off immense heat. A trace of killing intent appeared on Karash's cold face as she also raised her staff, causing 100 or so ice shards to shoot toward Zhao Fu. Swish, swish, swish! The fireballs and ice shards flew incredibly quickly towards Zhao Fu, leaving behind traces of light in the air. They arrived in front of Zhao Fu in an instant. Zhao Fu sent his king's power into the Sin Dragon sword, causing it to give off a large amount of sword light. Zhao Fu continuously swung his sword, sending out arcs of sword light that destroyed the fireballs and ice shards, and he continued to fly towards the two women. Against magic users, close-range combat was more advantageous. Moreover, Zhao Fu was a melee fighter to begin with. Binoche and Karash could tell what Zhao Fu was trying to do, but they did not retreat. Instead, they flew to either side of Zhao Fu and attacked for both sides. Zhao Fu was now on the defensive, and he was being attacked from both sides. He could only passively defend and could not use any of his attacks. At this time, if only there was one more person, it should be easier to deal with the two of them, Zhao Fu thought in his heart. But this time, Zhao Fu was only one person, but Zhao Fu also had other methods. Seizing an opportunity, Zhao Fu flew out of the two women's pincer attack and raised the Sin Dragon sword, sending a black sword light into the sky. Godly Hell's Gate. A black hole appeared in the sky, and strands of demonic chi gushed out. In the next moment, roars rang out, and countless demons rushed out, attacking the two women. Facing the countless demons, the two women felt quite disdainful. Even though there were many demons, they were too weak and could not pose a threat to them. Binoche's staff descended towards the countless incoming moons, and a fireball quickly spun within the moon at the tip of the staff, giving off a searing aura and causing the surroundings to be covered in heat. Ooh! Countless flames spewed out from the top of the magic staff, forming a sea of flames that burned towards the countless demons. The demons were unable to resist and howled miserably. However, at this moment, a figure suddenly appeared behind her. In terms of hiding his aura, Zhao Fu was not weak at all. Assassins were also the nemesis of sorcerers. Xing! Zhao Fu exploded out with all of his power and sent it into the Sin Dragon sword, causing it to hum. The sword gave off countless traces of sharp sword chi, giving off an incredibly dangerous aura. Boom! Zhao Fu slashed down, and Binoche hurriedly used her staff to block. However, she felt a massive force hit her, and her body heavily crashed to the ground, smashing out a few craters that were 10 or so meters wide. On the other side, Karash used her ice sword and easily killed the demons. She just happened to see Binoche being hit by Zhao Fu's sword, and she felt quite startled. In that instant, Zhao Fu appeared in front of her and slashed out horizontally, sending her flying hundreds of meters and crashing into an ice wall. A bang sounded out as the entire ice wall collapsed. "I'll kill you!" A fierce cry sounded out as a trace of blood leaked out of Binoche's mouth. She raised her staff, and a fiery formation appeared beneath her feet. Massive amounts of fire attribute energy gathered towards her, and a terrifying heat spread out, seeming to twist the space around her. The sky became a fiery red, and it gave off a suffocating pressure. As Binoche chanted a forbidden spell, an even more terrifying aura descended from the sky. Zhao Fu looked over and saw that dozens of flaming meteors were about to fall from the sky. Following this, Zhao Fu did not hesitate and used the king's crown with all of his strength. Countless chains shot out from the ground, forcefully breaking through Binoche's magic defenses and binding her, interrupting her casting. Binoche immediately suffered a backlash and coughed up a large mouthful of blood. However, The meteors in the sky did not disappear, and they instead continued to fall with terrifying destructive power. Luckily, they had lost control of themselves and were easily dodged. Bang! 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 Massive meteors smashed into the ground, causing the ground to violently tremble and deafening noises to ring out. A destructive aura spread out, creating a shocking feeling. 100-meter-wide crater appeared in the ground, and the inside of the crater was scorched black from the intense heat. These meteors destroyed everything in the surrounding 10,000 meters, and they also interrupted Karash from casting a forbidden spell, causing her to suffer a backlash. She coughed up a large mouthful of blood, and her face became quite pale. The power of a forbidden spell was great, but it was also difficult to use, and the backlash was also great. Zhao Fu smiled and waved his hand, sending out countless chains that bound Karash. Following this, Zhao Fu threw the two of them to the side and walked towards the crystal hall with anticipation. After walking into the crystal hall, in addition to the two crystal coffins, there was also a crystal platform in the middle. This crystal platform was 5 meters tall and 1 foot wide. It was rectangular in shape. On the stone platform, 2 hexagonal crystals floated in the air, emitting resplendent light. One was fire, and the other was ice. Zhao Fu gave a trace of a smile as he picked up the 2 hexagonal crystals and looked at their stats. Fire Origin Spirit Crystal, a crystal that contains fire origin and can be used in various domains. It can also be fused with a city creation heart to form a special city creation stone that can spawn races with fire bloodlines. Ice Origin Spirit Crystal, a crystal that contains fire origin and can be used in various domains. It can also be fused with a city creation heart to form a special city creation stone that can spawn races with an ice bloodline. Ice and fire bloodline. Zhao Fu thought about it. According to the information from the demonic god, as an energy bloodline, it was at least a mid-level bloodline. All his attributes would be increased, and he would also be able to control the power of ice and fire. He would definitely be stronger than ordinary people because he was born with special abilities. This was a very precious treasure, and it could nurture the ice and fire bloodlines. In the future, it would definitely have a great advantage, and a single soldier with the ice and fire bloodlines could deal with 5 soldiers of the same cultivation. After going back, it would be best to obtain 2 legendary Grade City Creation Hearts and fuse them with their spirit crystals. They would have massive potential, and the City Lord Seals they condensed would be incredibly powerful. Zhao Fu smiled and put the 2 spirit crystals away. He planned to return to Qin City and order people to open up the inner regions of Gloomy Jungle. The crystals that the ice spirits and fire spirits dropped here could instantly kill people with Stage 2 cultivation, and they were treasures. Zhao Fu wondered how many of them he would be able to obtain. Chapter 644. Zhao Fu walked in front of them and thought about what had just happened. With their powerful magic abilities, they would be of great help in the battle. Just Binoche's heavenly meteor descent would be able to instantly kill 50,000 to 60,000 Stage 1 soldiers. Zhao Fu did not know what forbidden magic Karash had cast, but it was definitely quite powerful and would be able to instantly kill tens of thousands of soldiers. It would be great if he could subdue them. Do you want to surrender? If you're willing to submit to me, I won't kill you, Zhao Fu said to the 2 women. Binoche ferociously glared at Zhao Fu and yelled, "You filthy and lowly person! How could I, the great Binoche, submit to you? I'll burn you alive and listen to your screams." Karash's expression became cold as she said with killing intent, "You despicable person! I'll slice off your flesh bit by bit and make you die in pain." Zhao Fu laughed. These 2 women still did not understand the situation and did not know whose hands they were in. Zhao Fu was the one who could do anything to them. Seeing how they're acting, it's impossible for them to submit. Should I kill them? That's a pity. Zhao Fu thought about it and realized that he still had the omnipotent golden dragon. So he asked, "Do you have any good methods to make them submit?" The golden dragon rolled her eyes at Zhao Fu and said, "You know the answer to that. Isn't the 6 desires celestial art a method to train female slaves? That's the best method. Zhao Fu looked quite awkward and asked, "Is there no other method?" The golden dragon nodded and said, "There are other methods, but they don't seem as good as the six desires celestial art." All right. Zhao Fu had no choice but to look at Binoche. Binoche could sense that Zhao Fu was going to do something and loudly cursed. "If you lowly person dares to do anything to me, I'll definitely kill you and make you wish you were dead." Hearing her curse at him, Zhao Fu did not get angry and only smiled as he looked at her with a pitiful gaze. He came before Binoche and pinched Binoche's mouth. Binoche struggled as she glared at Zhao Fu, as if she wanted to kill Zhao Fu 100 times over. However, at that moment, Zhao Fu's lips had already kissed her, and their lips were tightly pressed together. A large amount of black qi flowed out of Zhao Fu's mouth and into Binoche's mouth. Binoche's resistance gradually weakened, and a blush appeared on her face as her eyes became lustful. She took the initiative to extend her tongue into Zhao Fu's mouth, hungrily searching for something. Zhao Fu kissed Binoche back and took off her clothes, which were not much to begin with, and started to do all sorts of lewd things. He even used chains to do some difficult things, which was definitely a crime, and it was best not to imitate him. Seeing this, Karash looked somewhat afraid and vigorously struggled. However, when he heard Binoche's moans and moans, his face became slightly red. A few hours later, Zhao Fu placed the powerless Binoche on the ground and came before Karash. At that moment, Karash turned her head away, and it was unknown whether she was shy or afraid. Following this, Zhao Fu kissed her lips, and the two of them quickly got into the mood. Afterwards, Zhao Fu put on his clothes and awkwardly turned his head to look at the two women, who were staring at him in anger and embarrassment, and said, "Let's go." The two women harumphed, and even though it seemed like they did not want to pay any attention to Zhao Fu, they still followed behind Zhao Fu, and their walking posture was quite uncoordinated. A few days passed, and after returning, Qin City was still the same as before. Qin City soldiers continued to clear out regions, and everyone was quite surprised to see that Zhao Fu had brought back two beauties. Binoche and Karash were both top-tier magic casters and had decent phoenix chi, so Zhao Fu made them concubines. In actuality, even if they did not have phoenix chi, Zhao Fu would have made them concubines, as they already had that connection. Next were the two energy stones. Zhao Fu had wanted to fuse them with a legendary Grade City creation heart, but he found that there were only legendary grade cities in Qin City and Peacock City. One was legendary grade, while the other was epic grade. Should he fuse these two energy stones into Qin City and Peacock City? The two cities already had legacies, and if he fused the ice and fire crystals into them, perhaps he would be able to strengthen their legacies. However, Zhao Fu was disappointed because both Peacock City and Qin City were historical legacy cities, so he could not use the ice and fire crystals unless he wiped out their legacies. However, how could Zhao Fu be willing to do that? As such, Zhao Fu decided to fuse the two energy stones into the two system main cities. However, he found that this was not possible because he had already condensed a City Lord seal, and if he wanted to fuse the two energy stones, he would have to destroy the City Lord seal. In the end, Zhao Fu could only fuse the two energy stones into two gold grade towns. Their names also changed. One became Flame Town, and the other became Ice Town. In the following days, Zhao Fu spent most of his time dealing with internal affairs and other matters. 3 days later, Qin City finished clearing out a region, and Zhao Fu relocated a system main city there and renamed it Wing Province. Qin City continued to clear out the next region, but not too long after, something unexpected happened because the boss of this region did not leave. Normally, when a system main city in a region was conquered, the boss of that region would be able to leave and would not have to stay in that region. As such, after Qin City cleared out a few regions, he did not find any boss of that region. However, this time, for some reason, the boss of that region did not leave, and in order to stop Qin City from clearing out the region, it even started a beast tide. After hearing about this, Zhao Fu immediately headed to that region. When Zhao Fu arrived at that region, the beast tide had formed into a few waves and gave off a ferocious aura as they surged towards Qin City soldiers. Qin City soldiers had used wood and rocks to make a simple defensive wall and had dug out trenches and set up many traps. After all, the beast tide was incredibly ferocious and would not be easy to deal with. Your Majesty, the boss of this region is a violet python, and it's hiding underground. It's very difficult for us to kill it. Wang Jian reported the situation to Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu nodded and ordered the other city lords to stay behind and help the soldiers defend. There were tens of millions of beast tides this time, and even though Qin City soldiers could kill 10 or so of them in a single attack, this number was still quite dangerous. This time, Zhao Fu brought Bai Qi, Wang Jian, Wei Liao, Sima Qiu, Meng Tian, and Li Mu to the depths of the region. There were many mountain peaks in the depths, and they were incredibly majestic. There were all sorts of mountains acting as barriers, and if the boss of that region hid below, it would be quite difficult to deal with. Right now, their only option was to go underground and think of a way to lure out the boss of that region or kill it. Otherwise, as long as it didn't come out, there was nothing that Zhao Fu could do. Chapter 645. Everyone came to a large hole that was 100 meters wide. This hole had been created by the python, and it was completely dark inside. There was a fishy smell and a trace of coldness in the air. Facing such a large hole, ordinary people would be so scared that they would go limp. Zhao Fu led everyone in, and not too long later, the path ahead was blocked by countless boulders. Clearing them was quite troublesome, and it would take a few days to clear them. As the boss of a region, this python was quite smart. Facing the boulders, Zhao Fu took out the Sin Dragon sword and sent all of his power into it, causing it to give off a brilliant sword light and an incredibly dangerous aura. Roar! Zhao Fu slashed out with all of his strength, and a water dragon flew out, bringing with it immense power as it rushed towards the pile of rocks. Another muffled explosion sounded out as the water dragon smashed into the pile of rocks, causing countless rocks to shatter into pieces. The pile of rocks in the way was immediately cleared out. Seeing Zhao Fu's power, everyone felt quite shocked. Following this, they continued onwards, but they had not expected to run into another boulder. They started to clear it out, and after walking for a while, they ran into another boulder. Everyone could only walk for a short distance and clear out the boulders. Zhao Fu did not do anything and left it to his subordinates, so they moved quite slowly. A few hours later, they did not see any more boulders, but many snakes appeared. These snakes were all different colors and gave off a fishy smell. They were evidently venomous. Everyone became quite wary. They did not have to worry about snake below stage 1. And even if they were bitten, they could block it with their cultivation. However, there were many stage 2 and stage 3 snakes here. If they were bitten by stage 2 and stage 3 snakes, it would be quite dangerous. However, Zhao Fu did not have to worry, as he had a poison spirit constitution, making him immune to these snakes' venom. However, Zhao Fu had to take care of the others, so he unleashed his king's domain, and a black dragon inscription barrier covered the 7 of them, while Bai Qi and the others used various methods to kill the snakes. As everyone continued onwards, more and more snakes appeared, and they became more and more ferocious as they bit at Zhao Fu and the others with no regard for their lives. However, no matter how many snakes there were, they were all blocked by Zhao Fu's king's domain. When their venom hit the king's domain, it sizzled and corroded, but did not affect the king's domain at all. After all, Zhao Fu's king's domain had been strengthened. Everyone continued onwards, and the space became larger and larger. Soon, they arrived at a space that was thousands of meters wide, and they encountered 4 100-meter-long snakes. When Zhao Fu's group stepped into this place, the 4 snakes were incredibly fast and shot over like black blurs. The 4 100-meter-long snakes were incredibly powerful, causing the king's domain to tremble. The people around Zhao Fu immediately unleashed their city lord seals and started a fight with the four 100-meter-long snakes. However, they were facing Bai Qi and the others, who could use General Star's power, which was a high-grade power. As such, they were able to easily kill the four snakes, and Zhao Fu collected their venom sacs. However, they were facing Bai Qi and the others, who could use General Star's power. The General Star's power was a high-grade power, so they were able to easily kill the four snakes in the end. Zhao Fu then put away their venom sacs. They continued onwards. Finally, they arrived at a space that was 10,000 meters wide. There was a 1,000-meter-long snake that was covered with glowing violet scales and had a violet horn on its head. Its body gave off a terrifying aura. What shocked Zhao Fu even more was the large tree next to it. This tree wasn't very tall, only 10 or so meters tall. Its trunk was thick and 4 or 5 meters wide, and its crown was lush. Its leaves were jade green, and there were many strange fruits growing on it. These fruits were humanoid, and they looked like children sitting cross-legged. They were the color of flesh, and they gave off a faint light, making them look quite mystical. Ginseng fruit. This fruit looked like the ginseng fruit from Journey to the West. Seeing this fruit, Zhao Fu felt quite shocked, and his heart started to beat rapidly. It was said that the 10,000 Life Mountain's 5th village monastery had ginseng fruits, which were called Chao Huandan. They bloomed every 3,000 years, bore fruit every 3,000 years, and ripened every 3,000 years. It seemed that during these 10,000 years, it had only produced 30 fruits. The fruits looked like children who had not yet reached the age of 3 emperors, and they had all 4 limbs and facial features. If a person was fated to smell the fruit, they would be able to live for 360 years. Eating one would be able to live for 47,000 years. If this really was a ginseng fruit, eating one would be able to live for 47,000 years, which was something that had not been achieved in human history. Zhao Fu did not need that much. He only hoped that the ginseng fruit had 1% of the effects of the legends. That way, he would be able to live for 400 or so years. In a heaven-awakened world, anything that could increase one's lifespan was incredibly valuable. Who didn't want to live for a bit longer? The violet python opened its eyes, revealing its cold, violet pupils. It opened its mouth and spat out a large amount of violet mist towards Zhao Fu and the others. The violet mist gave off a dense, fishy smell and was incredibly corrosive. The ground seemed to melt and turn black. Zhao Fu was quite startled. The space here was too small, and it was not suitable for dodging such a large-scale attack. Bai Qi used the 7 murder stars' power to form a blood-red barrier, but he could only barely defend against the mist. Everyone else was the same, and they did not have any time to attack. The violet python was a poison-type creature, and it had the geographical advantage, making it many times more powerful than ordinary boss monsters. In just an instant, not only were Zhao Fu and the others surrounded by the violet mist, but the entire space was filled with it as well. Luckily, the ginseng fruit tree gave off a green light, and the violet mist could not get close at all. Rumble! A rumbling sounded out from within the violet mist as the violet python charged over. In the next second, the violet python appeared in front of Zhao Fu, opened its mouth, and bit toward Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu raised his sword and slashed out a water dragon, which collided with the violet python. A massive shockwave exploded out, causing Zhao Fu and the violet python to both retreat 10 or so meters. At that moment, Zhao Fu's pupils constricted. He found that this violet python was much stronger than ordinary boss monsters. Bai Qi and the others were within the violet mist, and they used all of their strength to maintain energy barriers, not daring to let even a trace of the poisonous gas enter them. If they breathed in the poisonous gas, their lives would be in danger. Bai Qi, do you want to leave? Seeing this, Zhao Fu had them leave. Everyone else nodded in understanding. If they stayed, they would not be able to help at all, and they would instead be a burden to Zhao Fu. As such, they could only leave. Whoosh! The violet python twisted its body incredibly quickly, and it gave off a massive aura as it charged toward Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu slashed out a sword light, which gave off a sharp sword chi towards the violet python. The violet python rammed the sword light with its horn, and in the next moment, the violet python arrived before Zhao Fu and once again bit toward Zhao Fu. Bang! Chapter 646. Zhao Fu took this opportunity to slash down, opening up a 3-meter-long gash on the violet python's body, causing blood to spurt out. The snake's blood was extremely poisonous, and when it hit the king's domain, it was incredibly corrosive and almost pierced through the king's domain. SSSS. The violet python gave a pained hiss and turned its head as it spat out more violet poison. The violet poison shot out like arrows, and Zhao Fu immediately dodged to the side, not daring to take it head-on. Bang! The violet python took advantage of this opportunity and slammed into Zhao Fu, sending Zhao Fu flying back. The violet python opened its mouth, and the poisonous fog within its mouth condensed into a poisonous ball. It then raised its head, and the poisonous ball flew toward Zhao Fu. Zhao Fu had just stabilized his body, and seeing the poisonous ball flying towards him, he was unable to dodge. At that moment, Zhao Fu sent his power into the Sin Dragon Sword, causing countless traces of water vapor to gather on the Sin Dragon Sword, forming a 100-meter-long water sword. Shing! Zhao Fu slashed out, sending out a sharp sword wind that split the poisonous ball in half. The poisonous ball exploded, turning into poisonous fog that spread out. This poisonous fog was many times more intense than the poisonous fog from before, and Zhao Fu could only retreat. Seeing that its attack had failed, the violet python furiously opened its mouth and spat out a violet light, which lit up the surroundings as it shot toward Zhao Fu. Facing this violet light, Zhao Fu's hairs stood on end, and he immediately dodged to the side. Bang! A massive explosion sounded out as the violet light hit the ceiling of the cave, causing a 100-meter wide hole to appear. The violet liquid dripped down and onto the ground, creating small holes in the ground. It looked quite terrifying. Zhao Fu coldly harumphed and slashed down with his water sword. The water that had gathered on the Sin Dragon Sword formed a water sword that shot towards the violet python. SSSS. The violet python gave a pained hiss. Its massive body was unable to dodge, and a massive gash appeared on its body, causing blood to flow out like a fountain. Roar! The violet python almost went crazy from the pain, and its body continuously shined with violet light. Zhao Fu felt a trace of danger, and he unhesitatingly retreated and started to defend. Swish, swish, swish! Countless violet snakes of light shot out from the violet python's body toward Zhao Fu. They were incredibly fast, and they arrived before Zhao Fu in the blink of an eye. Zhao Fu unleashed his king's domain and slashed out countless sword lights, destroying the violet snakes of light. However, there were still too many violet snakes of light, and they flooded toward Zhao Fu. Bang! The king's domain shattered, and Zhao Fu was sent flying back and coughed up a mouthful of blood before stabilizing his body. Now that the city lords were defending against the beast tide, it was not convenient for them to use their power, but he could use by Qi and the others' power. A black and gold dragon seal appeared, giving off a large amount of black light. A terrifying aura exploded out, sweeping out like a wild gale. Bai Qi and the others felt Zhao Fu's power calling them, and they unleashed their city lord seals and sent all of their power into the Great Qin seal. Boom! An even more berserk energy spread out, and a berserk gale swept through the entire region. The might became even more terrifying, and the surroundings continuously trembled. The violet python felt a sense of danger, but it looked at the ginseng fruit tree, and its expression became savage. The python's body gave off a large amount of violet light, which gathered on the horn on its head. The horn gave off a resplendent light that could cause anyone's heart to feel a chill. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of chains could be heard as countless chains shot out from the ground, tightly binding the violet python. The violet python madly struggled, and the horn on its head gave off an even more resplendent violet light. Zhao Fu raised the great Qin seal, and it gave off the might of a mountain as it smashed towards the violet python, bringing with it countless gusts of wind. The violet python madly roared and lowered its head. It pointed its horn at Zhao Fu and shot out a violet ray of light, dyeing the surroundings violet. Sizzling sounds could be heard as white smoke rose up, seeming to be able to corrode even space itself. Zhao Fu looked at Zhao Fu and said bang. Boom! The two massive auras collided, and Zhao Fu's Qin seal smashed towards the python's head like a mountain. Blood flew everywhere, and the violet python howled in pain. However, that terrifying violet light only flashed by and instantly pierced through Zhao Fu's shoulder. Zhao Fu coughed up a mouthful of black blood, and his wound became charred black and started to corrode. At that moment, Zhao Fu's poison spirit constitution started to take effect, and the small green grass within his body lightly swayed, giving off an aura of life. It gave off a large amount of green light as it absorbed the poison. Zhao Fu endured the pain and suppressed the poison. He once again raised the Qin seal with all of his strength and smashed it towards the python's head. Bang! 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 A few explosions sounded out, and finally, the Qin seal smashed apart the violet python's head. Blood and brain matter flew everywhere, and Zhao Fu received a system announcement that the region lord had died. System announcement. You have killed the violet-scaled python and obtained 10,000 achievement points. System announcement. You have killed the violet-scaled python and obtained a large amount of region fate. System announcement. You have killed the violet-scaled python and obtained 300,000 EXP. System announcement. You have obtained 1 legend point. Ignoring the other system announcements, Zhao Fu now knew how to use legend points. After the chaotic world stone steel had leveled up to level 6, it had gained a new function, which was legend point exchange. 1 legend point could be used to exchange for a piece of trash legendary grade equipment, and 30 legend points could be used to exchange for a legendary grade city creation heart. Even though Zhao Fu knew how to use legend points, he didn't want to easily kill a region lord. Firstly, it was not easy to kill, and secondly, the losses from the Beast Tide far surpassed the value of a piece of legendary grade equipment. A legendary grade city creation heart was quite tempting, but the losses were too great, so Zhao Fu wasn't willing to do such a thing. Next were the rewards. The region lord's entire body was filled with treasures. The snake's blood and flesh went without saying, and the horn on its head could be made into an exquisite legendary grade weapon. Its snakeskin could also be made into a legendary grade defense. The snakeskin could be used to make inner armor, and Qin's generals all had one. Zhao Fu also had a legendary grade inner armor, and no one else had one yet. Following this, there were 2 more items. One was a green stone that was as big as an egg, and it gave off a faint green light and a dense fishy smell. Zhao Fu didn't know what it was, so he started to look at it. 1,000 Years Snake Gallbladder Stone. A gallbladder stone formed from a 1,000-year-old snake gallbladder. Consuming it can strengthen one's constitution, increase poison resistance, and unlock vision. Zhao Fu couldn't help but feel delighted. Vision was the 4th of the celestial senses, and if he ate this gallbladder stone, his celestial senses would only be lacking 1. Zhao Fu had been looking forward to using the celestial mode for a long time. Chapter 647. Zhao Fu grabbed the purple cauldron and checked its attributes. 10,000 Poison Divine Cauldron, a level 1 saint armament that can refine tens of thousands of poisons and create the most domineering poisons in the world. The more poisons it can refine, the higher the grade of the Divine Cauldron. This was another growth item, just like the King's Crown that Zhao Fu had obtained before. As Zhao Fu continuously collected King's Aura, the King's Crown had long since risen to gold grade, and it was only a step away from breaking through to legendary grade. Zhao Fu was quite interested in the 10,000 poison divine cauldron because poison was a taboo for anyone. Once they were entangled with it, they would definitely not have a good time. If he could refine the world's most poisonous poison, it would definitely be very useful. For example, for assassination, that would be the best. It was worth nurturing. Zhao Fu put away the 10,000 poison divine cauldron and turned his gaze to the gigantic snake's body. It seemed that he still had a corpse-transforming sword talisman that could turn corpses into swords. If he could turn the violet-scaled snake into a sword, it would become a poisonous sword that wouldn't be of a low grade. As such, Zhao Fu took out the talisman paper and prepared to use it. However, he received a system announcement that the purple-scaled serpent's head had been damaged, and its soul had been damaged. The sword created would lack a sword spirit, and its quality would be greatly reduced. As such, Zhao Fu could only give up. His gaze shifted to the dark green tree. Was this really a ginseng fruit tree? Even if it wasn't, given how much the purple-scaled python valued it, it was at least a treasure. Zhao Fu walked forward and examined the fruit tree. Ginseng fruit tree. Ginseng fruit tree, a treasure tree that can increase one's lifespan. The ginseng fruit it produces increases one's lifespan by 10 years, and each person can only eat one. After looking at the ginseng fruit tree, Zhao Fu felt slightly disappointed. Even though it was also called a ginseng fruit tree, it was quite different from the legendary ginseng fruit tree. One could increase one's lifespan by 10 years, while the other could increase one's lifespan by 47,000 years. However, after Zhao Fu looked through the information carefully, he realized that this ginseng fruit tree was planted with a ginseng fruit. Ginseng fruit trees were divided into different grades, just like the tree of life. The longer it grew, the higher its level, and the better its effects. Right now, the ginseng tree was a 100-year tree, and the next stage would take 500 years to produce ginseng fruits that could increase one's lifespan by 50 years. The next stage would take 2,500 years to produce ginseng fruits that could increase one's lifespan by 250 years. If it grew to the final stage, a single ginseng fruit might really be able to increase one's lifespan by 47,000 years. However, it would take too much time. At that time, there would only be 36 fruits, not hundreds like now. The more lifespan was increased, the fewer the fruits would be. In fact, the fruit of life could not only increase one's life force, but it could also increase one's lifespan by 1 or 2 years. The tree of life had a lifespan of 100 years. A 100-year-old tree of life was a rank 1 tree of life. A 200-year-old tree of life was a rank 2 tree of life, and a 1,000-year-old tree of life was called a world tree. The world trees here could only be considered saplings. Once they grew into world trees, they would take 10,000 years to grow. Only those that took 10,000 years were first-rank world trees. 20,000 years was a level 2 world tree. Both types of trees required a massive amount of time to grow. The ginseng tree, which could increase one's lifespan, was much more difficult to obtain than the tree of life. This was because the tree of life could be found in elf cities, so it was much cheaper. Thinking about it, Zhao Fu felt quite satisfied. Looking at the ginseng fruits on the tree, Zhao Fu plucked one and tasted it. He found that it was sweet and juicy, and it tasted quite good. Zhao Fu planned to transplant the ginseng tree back to the God realm. He would leave some of the ginseng fruits for the generals to use, and he would continue to plant the rest to see if he could grow a large number of ginseng trees. Qin had water of life, so it would be quite easy. Sensing that the battle had ended, Bai Qi and the others returned to the God realm and started to carefully dig up the ginseng tree with Zhao Fu. After the boss of this region had died, the massive beast tide had automatically collapsed, and there were not many casualties on Qin's side. Zhao Fu put away the ginseng tree and started to deal with the purple-scaled python's corpse. He thought about how potent its venom and blood were. Zhao Fu immediately collected the venom and put it into the 10,000 poison divine cauldron. The 10,000 poison divine cauldron would automatically purify the venom and make it even more potent. At the same time, Zhao Fu found that this small cauldron was like a legendary magic treasure. It was only as big as a palm, but there was a space within it that could store many things, and it could be used in the same way as magic treasures. Zhao Fu controlled the cauldron, and it floated in the air. The mouth of the cauldron faced the purple-scaled python, and it gave off a violet light and a suction force that sucked all of the venom and blood into the cauldron. After dealing with these matters, Qin's soldiers continued to clear out the region, and Zhao Fu returned to Qin's side. After returning to Qin's side, Zhao Fu carefully planted the ginseng tree and took care of some other things. He then consumed a 1,000-year gallstone and unlocked vision. When he first unlocked vision, Zhao Fu felt an intense pain in his eyes and blood flowed out. However, he recovered after a while, and when Zhao Fu opened his eyes again, the entire world seemed different. In Zhao Fu's eyes, the world became clearer, more vivid, and more alive. Visual perception was the most direct, simple, and realistic of the five senses. This was because you could see things. This was the so-called visual perception. The so-called activation of visual perception was through strengthening it. Snake gallbladders were used in Chinese medicine to clear one's eyes, and any other item that could strengthen one's eyes could also unlock vision. It was one of the easier senses to unlock. After unlocking vision, Zhao Fu's eyes became even more powerful, and he could use eye techniques without any problems. There were many eye techniques in the Heaven Awakened world, but they were very harmful to the eyes. After unlocking vision, Zhao Fu did not have to worry about them. Moreover, after unlocking vision, Zhao Fu's power would increase, and it would be easier for him to use eye techniques. It was a pity that even though Zhao Fu knew about eye techniques, he had never seen one before. He asked the Golden Dragon, but it did not have any eye techniques. It did not care about trash eye techniques, and most high-grade eye techniques were related to bloodlines, so the Golden Dragon could not do anything about them. Moreover, when Zhao Fu had obtained the Heaven Killer Emperor's bloodline, he now had 3 pupils. The first 2 pupils were blood red, and the third pupil was white. The blood red pupils had been filled with an evil and terrifying aura, but now there was a white pupil that gave off a trace of gentleness. In ancient times, those with double pupils were called saints and gods, and those who had appeared in the past were all peerless figures who could shake the heavens and earth. Now that Zhao Fu had 3 pupils, who knew what he would be like in the future? He would not be weak either. After returning to his room at night, Nu Lu gave off a flirtatious aura as she leaned over. Zhao Fu thought about what had happened before, and because he was not in a good mood, he had given her the cold shoulder. Chapter 648. Just as Zhao Fu and Nu Lu were doing that, Tuo Baqing came into Zhao Fu's room with a red face and joined in. Binoche and Karash both looked like they hated Zhao Fu, but they could not help but lean over and sink in. Zhao Fu felt that the 6 desire celestial art was quite domineering, and it could increase one's desires by hundreds or even thousands. Even a chaste woman would become a slut, and at the same time, Zhao Fu felt that he had lost control of his own beauty. Once the doors of desire were opened, it would not be easy to control it. I want more. Binoche hugged Zhao Fu's neck, her fiery eyes filled with lust. She looked incredibly cute, and she no longer looked as ferocious as before. Zhao Fu lightly laughed as he said, "Didn't you want to kill me before? Why do you want more now?" Binoche harumphed. "It's all because of you, you scoundrel. I hate you the most, but I still want more. Hurry up." Zhao Fu laughed as he pressed down on top of Binoche and started to do it, and the 3 other women could not help but join in. The next day, Zhao Fu once again gathered his generals. Most of the eastern regions had not reacted yet, and Zhao Fu felt that after resting for a while, they would be able to attack 2 more regions. These regions were the South Leaf region and the Sunsong region. If they could take down these 2 regions, they would be able to conquer the eastern regions that Qin had planned. With the South Leaf region's marshy terrain and the Void Zone, they would be able to conquer the eastern regions. Qin was no longer afraid, and the eastern regions continued to attack. At the same time, Qin could continue to attack the eastern regions, or he could retreat and attack the other 3 regions. Now, It seemed that the territory that Qin had planned was still too small. However, unifying the territory would allow them to establish a large base and expand outwards, which was quite good. Zhao Fu first obtained information about the two regions. The South Leaf region had 4 main cities, and because it was marshy terrain, it was not suitable for a large army to march in. If they were not careful, they would sink in, so they could only think of other ways to deal with it. Crooked Sun only had 3 cities, and there was nothing special about the other places. Their Stage 1 soldiers only amounted to 300,000. Zhao Fu planned to split up with Bai Qi and quickly take down those 2 regions. As long as they could take down those 2 regions and use the Void Zone's power, they would not have to fear the eastern regions. Bai Qi led 16 city lords and 5 million soldiers to quickly invade River Song, while Zhao Fu led 19 city lords and 3 million soldiers to invade South Leaf. There were 5 city lords stationed in Qin City to guard against any unforeseen events. Zhao Fu left Wang Jian behind to guard Qin City. With the current strength of Qin City, it wouldn't be a problem to take down 2 regions. Zhao Fu also didn't want to risk everything, so he left some people in Qin City to guard Qin City. Bai Qi and his soldiers quickly arrived at Crooked Sun City and started to attack. He led his city lords and charged towards the city lords, and the army also started to attack the city lords. When Zhao Fu and his soldiers arrived at the South Leaf region, they couldn't even take a single step forward. The ground was filled with mud, making it impossible for people to walk. If people sank in, the more they struggled, the deeper they would sink. If no one could save them, they would suffocate to death. Most of the South Leaf region was like this, and only around the 4 system main cities could they walk on. Because this place was filled with marshes and fog, it was quite difficult for the army to move. Luckily, Zhao Fu had long since made preparations. Since they couldn't walk on the roads, they froze the roads and put on anti-skid shoes. They then used some sort of positioning method to reach the system main city. Seeing countless enemies swarming in, the system main city was given a fright and immediately closed its gates. The soldiers came to the city walls and nervously looked down at the army of Qin City. Zhao Fu didn't think much and directly attacked. Qin City's soldiers flooded towards the system main city, giving off a terrifying aura. Moreover, Zhao Fu left a portion of his soldiers behind in case the other 3 system main cities attacked from behind. Even though Zhao Fu had already set up isolation barriers, it was possible that the other 3 system main cities had a way to destroy isolation barriers, so they couldn't be careless. The 19 city lords around Zhao Fu all exploded out with shocking power, their auras causing the weather to change, and their terrifying auras shook the surroundings. The 19 city lords turned into rays of light as they shot towards the system main city, planning to kill the city lords. Once they killed the city lords and obtained the city lord seals, they would be able to win. Capturing the leader was always the most direct and fastest method. Because of Qin's sudden attack, the players had not retreated yet. They didn't dare to help defend the system main city, and their faces became pale in fear. Qin City had a way to kill a large number of players, so they were afraid that Qin City would use it on them. None of them wanted to die. Many people wanted to leave the Heaven Awakened world, but they were already in battle, so they couldn't leave. As such, they could only hide in their houses. Some people yelled in fear, "Qin City, we don't dare to make an enemy out of you. We don't dare to become enemies with you, so please let us live." Zhao Fu heard their words, but he had already surrounded the system main city and was still attacking. How could he spare them? If he stopped and spared them, he would lose the opportunity to attack, so he ignored them. If they obediently hid together, Zhao Fu might spare them. However, if they dared to help defend the system main city, Zhao Fu would use the reality-harming talismans to kill them all. There weren't many players in this system main city, only about 200,000 or so. Qin City's soldiers quickly scaled the city walls, and the city lord was heavily injured by the 19 city lords in just a few exchanges. Looking at everything around him, he could only yell, "I surrender!" In front of a massive power, No one was willing to die, and they chose to surrender. However, things were different from before. Qin City quickly took over the system, main city, and took away all of the soldiers' weapons, forcing the city lord to hand over his city lord seal. As for the players, Zhao Fu released them as well. The players felt as if a massive weight had been lifted from their shoulders, and their bodies were covered with cold sweat. They felt as if they had just walked through the gates of hell, and they quickly left the system main city, not daring to stay. In the face of true death, they didn't dare to resist Qin City at all. At that moment, the three other system main cities saw this scene and sensed how terrifying Qin City was, and they hurriedly turned and ran. Zhao Fu glanced at them before turning into a ray of light and chasing after them. Soon, blood splattered everywhere, and a headless corpse fell to the ground. Zhao Fu held the blood-dripping head of an elderly woman, and he smiled as he looked at the two injured city lords. Chapter 649. Following this, Zhao Fu took a large number of people and soldiers back to Qin City. Zhao Fu had only relocated 4 system main cities, but he only took 3 with him and left 1 with some soldiers. Because this was an important location, Zhao Fu didn't want anyone to interfere. By setting up a city here, they could continue to defend against the eastern regions. Out of the 4 system main cities, only 1 system main city slightly resisted, which was the city lord that Zhao Fu had killed. However, in front of Qin City's army, it was unable to resist at all. After returning to Qin City, Bai Qi killed a city lord and subdued another 2 before relocating 3 system main cities, bringing back a large number of people and soldiers. By now, Qin City's population was 32 million, and Zhao Fu expanded the army to 5 million. There were 8 million Stage 1 soldiers, 80,000 Stage 2 soldiers, and 2,000 Stage 3 soldiers. There were 42 great cities, 5 cities, 30 towns, and 2,669 villages. After simultaneously relocating 7 system main cities, Qin City obtained a large amount of EXP, and the level 2 great city once again leveled up. Village name: Qin City, Epic. Level 3 Great City Village Area. 18,400 square kilometers village territory. 821,800 square kilometers popular support. 85 special stats. Territory crop output plus 170%. Territory crop growth time minus 170%. Population limit plus 120%. Resident stats plus 12. Soldier stats plus 13%. Population attraction plus 135%. High-grade attraction plus 135%. Subsidiary village limit: 16930 subordinate villages. Logue Village, Jean Village, Doran Village, Lee Family Village, Wolf Village, Ferocious Tiger Village. Now, Qin City was a level 3 great city, and it hadn't been that long since it had leveled up. There were only 2 levels left before it could become a capital city. The remaining 2 levels could be called Secondary Main City and True Main City. Leveling up to a secondary main city required 42 million EXP, and such a massive amount of EXP was not something that could be obtained in a short period of time. Only by continuously attacking system main cities would one be able to obtain so much EXP. Now that the eastern side of Qin City had been unified, there were only the western, northern, and southern sides left. At this time, Qin went back to the task of clearing areas. Originally, he had only cleared 1 area, but now he had added 2 more areas, which meant that he had to clear 7 areas. This speed was already very fast in the eyes of ordinary people, but to Zhao Fu, it was still too slow. However, there was no other way. This matter could not be rushed. After a few days, it was time to trade outside the land of inheritance. With the expansion of the army, Qin still needed a large number of corpses, the higher the better. At the same time, he also needed rune stones. Currently, Qin had 2 million pieces of rune equipment, but if they were divided into weapons and armor, he would only have 1 million sets, which could only equip 1 million soldiers. Within a private room, Zhao Fu and Ruashi conversed. From Ruashi, Zhao Fu found out that the Devil Horn Empire had started to attack the Lontong and Grassy people. The Devil Horn Empire, which was a level 1 dukedom kingdom, was a devil race with short horns on their heads. Now, the Lontong and Grassy people had allied together, or else they would not have been able to stop the Devil Horn Empire's invasion. However, despite this, the situation was still quite unfavorable for the Lontong and Grassy people. After hearing about this, Zhao Fu could not help but feel nervous. If the Lontong and Grassy worlds could not stop the Devil Horn Empire, the human world would not be able to either. After destroying these two worlds, the Devil Horn Empire's next target would definitely be the New Worlds. After all, the New Worlds were a piece of juicy meat in everyone's eyes. Because of the battle between the three worlds, the Swan Goose Group had obtained a small portion of the corpses. There were 1 million stage 1 corpses, 50,000 stage 2 corpses, and 5,000 stage 3 corpses. Zhao Fu was quite satisfied with this amount of corpses, but he felt quite pained because he had spent another 25 million gold coins. Apart from corpses, he had also spent rune stones. There were 4 million white talisman stones, 150,000 blue talisman stones, 30,000 silver talisman stones, and 340 gold talisman stones. In total, that was around 30 million gold coins. With so many gold coins, Zhao Fu could not help but think about his own strength. Right now, Zhao Fu had been using the equipment he had obtained from killing players to pay off his debts. Now, he had used up 40% of his equipment, and if he continued to spend like this, he would run out of money sooner or later. If he could obtain these corpses, Qin would have 2 million stage 1 corpses. He had already used up most of the stage 2 and stage 3 corpses, so he did not need stage 1 corpses. As such, Zhao Fu turned his attention to the high-grade corpses and talisman stones. Both of these were urgently needed, and Zhao Fu also needed to think of other ways to earn money to maintain this massive expenditure. By now, Qin had opened up 170 regions, and he had already used up all of his void crystals. Qin could only open up so many regions. Through trading, Qin could earn 700,000 gold coins per day, and a portion of his gold coins would be used elsewhere. He could use 500,000 gold coins per day, which meant that he would only be able to earn 5 million gold coins in 10 days. However, these were all things that Qin needed. Zhao Fu handed a spatial ring to Rahi, who smiled brilliantly as she accepted it and looked at it before putting it away. "Dear guest, is there anything else you need?" Zhao Fu bitterly smiled as he shook his head. Now that he was in dire need of money, he could not spend it recklessly. However, Rahi was not disappointed. After all, Zhao Fu had spent more than 50 million gold on the Swan Goose Financial Group. This was the first time that the Swan Goose Financial Group had received such a wealthy person. If it weren't for the fact that they knew that Zhao Fu's identity was extraordinary, the Swan Goose Financial Group would have considered robbing Zhao Fu to see just how much money he had. After Rahi's successful trade with Zhao Fu, her status in the Swan Goose Financial Group had risen higher and higher, and the Swan Goose Financial Group's overall strength had risen slightly. When a financial group obtained a large amount of wealth, they would nurture their own forces. No matter how much money one had, if one did not have enough strength, it would only belong to others. After all, others could easily take all of one's money. "Miss Rahi, I'll be taking my leave now." After the trade was completed, Zhao Fu planned to leave. Now that he was friends with Rahi, he said this to her. Rahi smiled and nodded. She then thought of something and called in 3 beautiful women, saying, "Dear guest, you're an esteemed guest of the Swan Goose Financial Group. You're an esteemed guest of the Swan Goose Group, so this is just a small gift for you. They're all virgins, so they're good at serving people." Seeing this, Zhao Fu smiled and refused. He could not trust anyone right now because he could not reveal his identity. Moreover, Zhao Fu did not lack women, and there were many women that Zhao Fu had touched before. Chapter 650. After leaving the shop, just as Zhao Fu was about to return to Qin City, he felt that time was running out. However, When he passed by the slave market, Zhao Fu felt the Silver Lake immortal shield in his spatial storage move. Zhao Fu felt quite surprised and looked over. He found that there was a slave market in front of him, and there was a barbarian slave tied up with chains and dragged out. Barbarians were generally quite weak in intelligence and had strong bodies. Because of their culture and lifestyle, they were called barbarians. The barbarian that Zhao Fu saw was 2 meters tall and had a muscular body. He had a beard and long hair that covered his face, and he wore a beast hide around his waist. This barbarian was quite strong, and it took 6 or 7 people to drag him. However, for some reason, the barbarian continued to struggle and did not want to leave. Zhao Fu felt the Silver Lake immortal shield move and understood what it meant. At that moment, a middle-aged man who looked like a slave owner looked at the barbarian and prepared to whip him. "Wait!" A voice cut him off. The slave owner looked over and saw a mysterious person wearing a black cloak. Sensing this person's powerful aura, the slave owner immediately went up and smiled as he said, "Sir, is there something you need? How much is this slave? I'll buy him." This person was naturally Zhao Fu. The slave owner's smile became even brighter as he immediately introduced him. "Sir, this barbarian is the leader of a small faction. This barbarian is the leader of a small faction. We spent a lot of effort to capture him. His strength is around stage 1 to 5. Since Sir wants him, how about 1,000 gold coins?" This barbarian was quite difficult to tame, and the slave owner wanted to get rid of him. Seeing that Zhao Fu wanted to buy him, he decided to sell him to Zhao Fu. Looking at how powerful Zhao Fu's aura was, he definitely did not care about money, so he raised the price slightly. Zhao Fu did not mind, so he tossed over a bag of money. The slave owner happily took it and looked at it before taking out a piece of paper and giving it to Zhao Fu. This was the contract paper, and after using it, he could decide the life and death of the slave. Zhao Fu took the contract paper and used it. "Sir, do you need us to take it to your place?" The slave master said to Zhao Fu with a smile. For such a barbarian, they provided a delivery service to avoid any accidents. "No need. All of you let go of him," Zhao Fu instructed. Hearing this, the slave master ordered for the barbarian to be released, and the barbarian stopped and looked at Zhao Fu. He instinctively felt that Zhao Fu was incredibly dangerous, but he still pointed at a small barbarian in a wooden cage and muttered something in barbarian language that Zhao Fu could not understand. Zhao Fu glanced at the barbarian boy he was pointing at. He discovered that the barbarian boy was only 7 or 8 years old. His aura was similar to the barbarian boy's. They should be father and son. Zhao Fu did not say much and casually threw a bag of money with a few hundred gold coins to the slave master, bringing the father and son along. Zhao Fu walked in front while the barbarian boy hugged the small barbarian boy and followed behind. The barbarian boy did not think about running away or suddenly attacking Zhao Fu. Even though they had signed a contract, he was powerful enough to cancel out the contract's power. However, the barbarian boy did not dare to attack because Zhao Fu's aura was simply too dangerous. It was the first time the barbarian boy had seen such a dangerous person, so he did not dare to do anything. After coming to the boundary region, Zhao Fu used the language stone and learned barbarian language before asking, "What's your name?" The barbarian boy cautiously replied, "I'm called Yi, and he's my son, Yi Wu." Zhao Fu nodded and took out the trembling Silver Lake shield from his king's ring and threw it to Yi as he said, "This is yours from now on. If you serve me well in the future, I won't mistreat you." Yi looked at the silver shield and found that it was a legendary grade item. Even though he had led hundreds of barbarians, he had never seen a legendary grade item before. Now that Zhao Fu had casually thrown such an expensive item to him, Yi understood how important he was to him. As such, he and his son knelt down and said, "I, Yi, am willing to serve, sir." The small barbarian boy, Yi Wu, was a bit confused, but he still followed his father's words. Zhao Fu smiled and took the back to Qin. Now that he had found the owners of the Silver Lake set, he had one less thing to worry about. Following this, Zhao Fu told the generals about the news that he had received from outside. Now, Zhao Fu was quite worried about this matter. The situation outside was incredibly tense, and this forced Qin to change his mind. He no longer fought in the eastern region, and he instead attacked the other 3 regions. After unifying the 4 regions, he would use the natural defenses of the 4 regions to construct an inner Great Wall. This would give Qin some ability to protect himself. However, there were still 7 regions that he hadn't finished clearing out, which gave him a headache. Of course, he couldn't just leave them there, or else there would be more and more regions in the future, making clearing out even more troublesome. In actuality, the clearing speed was quite fast. With the village compass and the gray wolf's sense of smell, it was quite easy for them to find Zhao Fu's villages. Now, they could clear out an entire region in less than a month, which was many times faster than before. However, the situation outside was quite urgent, and Zhao Fu didn't have much time. Zhao Fu even asked the Golden Dragon about this, but the Golden Dragon's reply was that activating the undead disaster could quickly clear out an entire region. Even if they did this, Qin wouldn't be able to obtain much. A region could provide 2 to 3 million people, and Zhao Fu was quite reluctant to do so. He was also worried that the undead disaster would go out of control. This was because Qin couldn't completely control the undead disaster, and at most, he could only guide it. If the undead disaster caused a backlash, Qin would suffer great losses. Thinking about it, Zhao Fu felt quite troubled, and he couldn't think of a way to resolve this matter. Suddenly, Zhao Fu remembered that there were still 2 region treasure chests that he hadn't opened. These 2 region treasure chests were obtained from conquering the 2 regions in the east. After opening the first one, light shined as a piece of black wood appeared in front of Zhao Fu. This piece of black wood was about 30 centimeters long and as thick as a person's thigh. It was square and gave off traces of black qi, giving off a cold and gloomy aura. Soul-nurturing wood allows spirits or ghosts to parasitize this wood, and it has great recovery and healing effects. Zhao Fu looked at it and threw it into his spatial ring before opening the second one. An intense light shined as a large piece of beast skin appeared in front of Zhao Fu. This beast skin was rolled up, and it was yellow in color. The surface was quite rough, and it gave off a dense, earthy aura. Chapter 651. Great Earth Beast Skin. An extremely rare Great Earth Beast skin that contains the Earth's origin qi. Once the skin is placed on the ground, it will show the terrain and buildings within 5,000 kilometers. This beast skin was quite useful. Not only could it show the surrounding terrain, but it could also show the villages. Zhao Fu smiled. With this beast skin, he would be able to unify the region as quickly as possible. Qin's army was divided into teams, and the 50 village compasses were not enough. With this beast skin, he could send people to mark the locations of all the villages. Moreover, he could draw detailed maps, which was quite beneficial to Qin. For example, if they attacked directly, it would be better for them to know the terrain. Also, if Qin established a kingdom in the future, these maps could be used as accurate maps of Qin's territory. Zhao Fu once again gathered countless generals. Now that Qin's army was in a state of high speed, Zhao Fu's order was that they had to clear out a region within 10 days. If they could do it, they would be rewarded, and if they couldn't, they would be punished. Under Zhao Fu's pressure, the generals didn't dare to relax at all, and they all became very active. This made the soldiers they led all become very nervous, and they would be able to fight even faster. The soldiers all looked serious as they went out to fight, and Qin's various departments also started to work at high speed to help Qin's soldiers clear out regions. Now everything was focused on clearing out regions. Time was of the essence, and Zhao Fu had to hurry up. His Highness's order: we must speed up clearing out regions, and no one can relax. If we complete the task, we will be greatly rewarded. However, if we fail, all soldiers and generals will be punished. A strong man wearing black armor and giving off a powerful aura shouted to the soldiers below. The soldiers all looked serious, and the atmosphere was quite heavy and oppressive. There was also a murderous and mighty aura around them. The strong man took out a piece of paper and shouted, Gong Gao Chow. Take 1,000 soldiers and go 13 kilometers northwest. There's a basic village there. Destroy it as soon as possible. Yes, this subordinate obeys. A person wearing battle armor stepped forward and shouted, Shu Hao Qiang. Take 5,000 soldiers and go 10 kilometers south. There's an intermediate village there. Destroy it as soon as possible. Yes, subordinate obeys. Another armored man stepped forward to receive the order. Dai Zhonggong. Take 5,000 soldiers and head to the southeast. There's an intermediate village there. Destroy it quickly. Yes, subordinate obeys. Another man clad in battle armor stepped forward and accepted the order. Chui, take 1,000 soldiers and head 15 kilometers north. There's a primary village there. Destroy it quickly. Yes, this subordinate obeys. Another armored figure stepped forward and loudly accepted the order. After giving out orders, Qin's soldiers quickly left for their destinations and started to attack villages. They were incredibly fast and orderly, and there was not a single trace of chaos. Within Qin City, Zhao Fu continued to look for targets. There were 20 regions allied together, 71 system main cities, and 10 for million soldiers. The eastern side had 6 regions allied together, with 21 system main cities and 1 million soldiers. They had already been destroyed, and the eastern side had been unified. The western and southern sides had 5 regions allied together, with each side having 18 system main cities and 6 million soldiers. However, because Jing Qinshui and the 3 other women had ambushed Zhao Fu, they had been dealt with by Zhao Fu, so the western side's strength was the same as the northern side's. The northern side had 4 regions allied together, with 14 system main cities and 1 million soldiers. Zhao Fu's target was the southern side, which was the strongest of the 3. If he could deal with the southern side, the remaining 2 would not be much of a threat. The contract from before seemed to guarantee that the 2 sides would not start a war, but there were some small loopholes. Zhao Fu used these loopholes to attack them, and even though it was quite despicable, Zhao Fu still had to do it. If they were not willing to surrender, Zhao Fu would have no choice but to destroy them. Qin could not coexist with them, so Qin had to restore Qin no matter what. Right now, Qin's main task was to clear out regions before attacking. If they could completely digest the 7 regions, Qin's strength would once again greatly increase. Apart from this, Zhao Fu also wanted to change the laws. Great Qin was not too far away from restoring its empire, so he had to start preparing the basic measures of a nation. Laws were necessary for governing a nation, so they had to have them, or else the nation would descend into chaos. It was just that he did not have anyone from the school of legalism by his side, so he could not change the laws very well. However, Zhao Fu could learn from the real world. However, it would take a long time, as some laws were not suitable for the Heaven-awakened world. After all, the real world was a democracy, while Qin was an empire. There was a big difference between the 2 systems. Moreover, the laws had to be suitable for Qin's people, customs, and culture. Some laws were not suitable, so they could not be copied. Zhao Fu's laws were very strict, but they were not as strict as the ones in Qin's history. He did not gouge out people's eyes, cut off their noses, tongues, and ears, nor did he chop off people's hands or feet. Those who committed light crimes were fined, but those who committed heavy crimes were all sent to the army. Zhao Fu would set up an army. As for those who committed heinous crimes, there would be all sorts of methods, such as death by 1,000 cuts or skinning. It would take a long time for Qin's laws to take shape, and during this time, Zhao Fu wanted to accept some people from the school of legalism. Moreover, Zhao Fu had also started to build brick kilns. Bricks could not only be used to pave roads, but they could also be used to build houses. Zhao Fu also wanted to build a great wall. Digging up stones for mountains was too inefficient, so it was much faster to use bricks. Using bricks to pave roads and build houses was not a problem, but building a great wall was not possible. After all, it needed to defend against enemies, so it had to be tougher than normal stones. Zhao Fu had ordered people to develop special bricks, and their progress was quite smooth. They would be finished soon. Apart from building an inner Great Wall, Zhao Fu also planned to build an outer Great Wall in the future. As Qin's territory continuously expanded, Zhao Fu would build more outer Great Walls to form a powerful defense, so he needed a large number of stone bricks. During this period of time, Zhao Fu returned to the real world, but because he was completely focused on Qin, he did not pay much attention to anything else. 2 months later, spring had passed, and there were no longer any vibrant green plants, only dark green plants. It was now summer in the heaven-awakened world, and the scorching sun hung high in the sky. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.